Show. So good morning to everybody in the Delaware Valley listening to the program. And, there are a couple of ready-made issues here. This is like shooting fish in a barrel today on the Mike Missanelli Show as we do it with Bill Colarulo, our producer, Ray Dunn. Listen, I'm not giving you any words of wisdom when I say that Taijuan Walker now has to be DFA'd. And the Phillies are in a no-win situation here. Here's the story. When you DFA a guy, he has to pass through waivers. Nobody will pick him up at that price tag, so he will pass through waivers. And then a Major League Baseball team will sign him because this league is so pitching barren. And I look around the corner and I see Rich Hill off the street at age 44 getting a job. Somebody will pick up Taijuan Walker as an innings eater for the rest of the season. And the Phillies are on the hook for the contract. That team that picks him up after he passes through waivers has to pay him the minimum. So there is no topic anymore about whether he should be a Philly starting pitcher. He's hit a wall. He's finished here. Maybe if he goes somewhere else, he could give somebody 5 innings. It can't be here again. You can't send him out anymore. So the question is, what do you do? The answer is, I don't know. That's what the answer is, because Michael Mercado is not a big league pitcher, at least not yet. He has to definitely go back down to AAA. Tyler Phillips, you want to take another shot with him? I don't know. You want to keep the left-hander in the rotation? Allard? I guess you have to do that. I guess your only alternative now for a 5th starter would have to be Allard, which means you have 3 lefties going. Lefty, lefty, lefty at the bottom of your rotation. I don't know if this is important or not to have a 5th starter that can give you innings. I would think that it is fairly important. So there we are with the Phillies. Bill, you want to take this down a bigger path. And I don't know where you're coming from with this. You believe, even though you have been harsh on Rob Thompson, you have now flipped a switch to include Dave Dombrowski on your hate list today. Explain to the people why.
I think Dombrowski is failing this team. I know he's a great general manager. You look at his history, the things he's done is incredible. He won a World Series with the Marlins, 2 World Series appearances with the Tigers, won a World Series in Boston. But you look at what he's done since he's come here, he hasn't done anything that moves the needle for this baseball team. You go to the NLCS last year. You come 1 game away from going to the World Series. What the hell did Dombrowski do this offseason or at this trade deadline to put this team over the top? He signed Whit Merrifield in the offseason. How did that work out? He continues to force Taijuan Walker upon this rotation. That's coming from Dombrowski. And you just look at his years here. He came here in 2021. Some of the best players on this team were already here. Harper was already here. Bohm was already here. JT Realmuto was already here. Your pitching staff, Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Sanchez, they were all already here. So what has Dombrowski done to put this team over the top? All right, he signed Turner. Do you think that was worth $300 million?
Of course it was.
$300 million.
Of course it was. He was the best free agent on the market. He signed 2 of the best free agents on the market. You're going to blame him for that?
Is he a $300 million player? If you have the kind of money,
you're not going to sign Trey Turner?
Is Trey Turner a $300 million player?
At the time you're a general manager, you have to do the best thing possible for your team. You did the best thing possible with Harper and Turner.
Okay.
How do you have a problem with that?
Wait, you need to do the best thing possible for your team. At the trade deadline, a couple weeks ago, was the best thing for your team not picking up a 5th starter? The only move you make is for Austin Hayes and Estevez?
You are under the impression that these guys were readily available. You keep going down this Lewis Robert. What is the difference between signing the trade for Lewis Robert or Hayes?
What about a Rosarena? Why didn't you try to get him?
Rosarena went somewhere else. He's not lighting it on fire either.
He's batting 340 since the trade.
In Seattle?
Yes.
And they've lost like how many games?
The only move he makes to put this team over the top is Austin Hayes? Look.
First of all, let's go back in history. I didn't want to do this, but we'll go back in history. Yeah, he inherited a good team. He also stayed with Bohm at 3rd. There was a time when this town was talking about acquiring Nolan Arenado and making Bohm the first baseman. I, at the time, said, no, I look at Bohm. He's got great flexibility. He has to stay at third base. He kept him at third base. That's a general manager decision. And he signed Turner. He spent the money for Turner. He also realized that Stott wasn't an everyday shortstop while he made that signing and solidified second base. He stayed with Harper at first base. Now, Bohm at third, Harper first. I probably would have tried to milk a year out of Harper in the outfield, which would have solved my left field problem. But he signed Castellanos. He traded for Marsh, becoming an everyday center fielder.
How'd
he
that
took
work
a
out?
shot. All right, but you're talking. Sometimes it doesn't work out. The mindset of you are under the impression that there's all these things that they could have done.
Listen,
and they're not.
I'm on board with Dombrowski up until this offseason, when the only move that was made to move the needle for this baseball team was Whit Merrifield. All right, give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Tell me why that was a bad signing at the time.
At the time, it was a good signing.
Okay.
So I just said, going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
But then once the season
signing
begins.
Taijuan Walker at the time, tell me why that was a bad signing.
At the time?
Yes. But you have to make moves in real time.
Yes, but now with the benefit of hindsight being 2020, it was a bad move.
You're such an after-the-fact guy. You picked the easiest cherry on the tree. Yeah, well, it was a baby. At the time when you're making decisions in real time, you needed a guy just to give you innings. You needed a guy who was a right-handed pitcher to put between two left-handers. Taijuan Walker's record wasn't that bad to the point where you would believe he could do that. Why is that a bad sign? Now, a lot of things don't work out, but your mindset at the time has to be this at the time will help us.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Every move doesn't.
I will give you that.
Okay.
At the time, it's a good move. At what point this season does Dave Dombrowski have to step in and realize that Taijuan Walker is not the answer? How many times are they going to keep rolling him out, and you didn't do anything to set your team up?
Again, you're looking at you're a reactionary. You're like, well, Taijuan Walker. Okay, we know that. It's obvious. Now, what do you do? Now, what do you do? Is this bountiful landscape of pitchers that you can bring in for Taijuan Walker? See, you're blaming a guy because it didn't work out, but you're not giving me the alternative on what he should have done and what he can do now about it.
So let me ask you, Taijuan Walker going out yesterday, whose decision do you think that was? Rob Thompson or Dave Dombrowski?
Give him one more chance. You have to be a businessman also. You got to go, okay, I'm on the hook for a lot of money with this guy. Middleton's already giving me all this kind of money. I got to at least exhaust the possibility that maybe he'll find something. He didn't. It's over now. Now they have to DFA him. But again, we're in the same soup. If you DFA him and you make everybody happy like Bill Colarulo, you still don't have any kind of a replacement for it. And you're going to blame him for that.
Yes.
How do you blame? What are you supposed to do? You got like this stock of players. The minor league system is supposed to generate these type of players. They haven't done that. If you want to blame Dombrowski, blame him for that. Now, he hasn't had a long time to shape this farm system, but there is nobody that they can go down and pluck to bring into the rotation like many other teams have.
So they either should have made a move at the deadline, or you make the decision a couple of weeks ago that you're going to DFA Taijuan Walker, because you mentioned earlier in the show, well, now you're going to have to roll with Colby Allard. Here's the problem. He's not eligible to come back until September 10th. Okay. That's a Dombrowski decision. So you now are going to have to pitch your fifth starter 5 more times probably.
You think all of these teams that are out there could be in the same soup with pitching? Do you think they have 1 to 5? Look at the Phillies and what they have. They have 1 to 4. I guarantee you 1 to 4 that they have is better than most teams in this league.
All right,
so that's not has nothing to do with Dombrowski.
But at what point do you think they should have stopped this Taijuan Walker experiment?
I did not think they should have stopped it until what I saw yesterday. They had to give him one more chance. They didn't have an alternative.
You just mentioned alternatives.
Who? Who was the alternative? Allard?
Or Tyler Phillips. At least they gave you a chance to win.
Did you see it? Haven't you seen Tyler Phillips pitch the last 4
outings? He's better than Walker.
Oh, he's not.
Oh,
He's
my
not
God.
better than Walker. There's no improvement there.
There's no improvement?
There's no improvement from Tyler Phillips to Taijuan Walker, the way Tyler Phillips has gotten raked over his last couple outings. Where do you see that? Where do you see there's improvement?
He's better than Walker.
He's a kid who finally has hit a wall. Oh, my God, I'm a big leaguer. He doesn't have big league stuff right now.
Dombrowski should have made a move at the deadline then.
All right. Here's how you get in. 610-632-0975. I'm going to zero in on the Eagles this year, or this show. And I'm going to get into your favorite head coach coming up.
Stay away
The
from
Mike Missanelli Show. Back after this.
Kincade and Salciunas.
name is Mike Missanelli. I've been like Johnny Sack, The Sopranos. He's a pragmatist. I don't offer hot takes. I offer fundamental principles and opinions based on fact. Hot takes are reserved for other idiots who do sports talk radio at other stations in this city. So I will tell you this. There is no way that you can predict how you make moves and how they're going to turn out. The only thing that you can trust yourself is at the time, does it make sense? Now, when you look at this Phillies team, did you have any problem with the way they came into the season with their starting rotation and their bullpen, Bill?
No.
Okay. They had two high-powered, high-velocity left-handed relief pitchers coming out of the pen.
Correct.
One of them didn't work out.
Also
You
correct.
can never predict whether one's going to work out. He had Dominguez, which everybody thought, well, that's going to be fine. He's going to be back to his old self. He rediscovered Jeff Hoffman, and at the time, he made two off-season moves, Whit Merrifield, and before that, Taijuan Walker. At the time those moves are made, there is nothing that you can say that you would say, boy, he really spit the bit on those. In baseball, sometimes it doesn't work out.
I'm with you on all of that.
Okay.
But you would also agree with me that this season is World Series or bust. Anything less than a World Series this season would be a massive failure. Agreed?
Yes.
So when it became clear...
When did it become clear?
Okay, well, it became clear that...
Let me ask you this.
Whit Merrifield wasn't the bat.
Did it become clear to you for the first several months of this season that they were a World Series team? Was that clear to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you are one of these guys that you slide the scale.
No.
You got, well, at this point, so there must be somebody to blame.
There's a trade deadline, is there not?
Yes.
Okay, there's a trade deadline. It became clear before the trade deadline that Whit Merrifield wasn't the answer. Taijuan Walker wasn't the answer. Dominguez wasn't the answer, clearly, because they traded him.
Who was going to give up a good pitcher on their staff? This is the thing. You don't understand that there's slim pickings when you're trying to make a trade like that. Nobody's going to give you a major player.
You didn't need a major player.
What did you need?
Someone better than Taijuan Walker. Someone better than Austin Hayes. I look at this team, and the same weaknesses that were there before the trade deadline are still there today.
You don't understand that a general manager may have that in mind, and he goes after a mediocre pitcher of the level of Taijuan Walker, and the other guy goes, boy, you're really desperate, so give me X prospect for this garbage that I'm going to send you. You don't put that in the equation.
What about the whole outfield then? What about the Austin Hayes center field? What I'm saying is he needed to do something to improve this team.
Dombrowski is a dope.
No, I think he's a good GM.
Okay, so Dombrowski's been a part of pretty successful teams at every stop.
Every stop.
Okay, so don't you think that in light of the circumstances where you don't want to give up a prospect for an outfielder who's coming in the middle of the season, that don't you think he reasoned it out and he found the best guy he could possibly get in Austin Hayes, because he looked at Baltimore and said, they've got an embarrassment of riches. This guy was a starter. This is the best I can do. You don't think that was a savvy move?
No, what I think he decided was, this is the best I could do without giving up my prospects. I would have given up my damn prospects.
But for, like, who are you? Are you talking about a star player? You're talking about a bit player anyway at that point of the season. Nobody's going to give you a star player.
So
Who's
you don't
gonna
like
give you a star
you don't
player?
like the Randy Arozarena move.
You think Randy Arozarena would have been the guy?
He would have been better than Austin Hayes.
And to me, the way Randy Arozarena was playing at baseball and the way Austin Hayes, they were even Steven. They were the same player.
Who's got more postseason experience?
He had 1 year of postseason experience.
Pretty damn good postseason, though, wasn't it?
So
what I'm saying, what has Dave Dombrowski's?
That's all he's ever done.
What has been Dombrowski's MO at all the stops he's gone? He puts the team over the top to win the World Series. He didn't do anything this offseason or this trade deadline to put this team over the top. They're still good enough to maybe win the World Series. But when I look at my GM,
oh my God, they're still good enough to win a World Series. Is that what you just said?
They're still good enough.
What are you bitching about? Shut up.
Because what you need is you identify your weaknesses and you try to make those strengths. And Dombrowski had an opportunity to do that, and he didn't. So they could still get lucky. Pat Gillick said it's a lot of luck.
Your whole argument is based on the fact that he didn't get Randy Arozarena? That's what your argument is based on?
Somebody. Whether it was a Rosarena, whether it was another left fielder.
He got somebody. He got Hayes.
And I have problems with Austin Hayes. Do you believe in Austin Hayes?
At the time, to me, I looked at it and go, that's not a bad deal. They didn't give up anybody to get a guy who was a starter in this league who has produced. So how do you look at that as a bad deal?
You got too patient in you.
You flipped from Walker. Now you're on Hayes. I don't know where you're going with this.
I'm looking at what Dombrowski did to put this team over the top this season, and he didn't do anything.
I need a sane.
Come on, Ray.
I needed a sane, objective voice here with this.
Over the fifth starter. That's what this all started about. This conversation comes the day after we watched Taijuan Walker pitch. This is about a fifth starter.
It has denigrated into Dombrowski's a pig. Yeah. Right? This is where we've gone with this.
By the way, we're 23 minutes into the program. Did you mention Kyle Schwarber being brought here by Dombrowski? Did that come in here?
That was a good move by him.
Was that brought into here?
He made a good look.
What about when we look at this organization and the way they value what baseball is currently doing, as in guys who actually throw above 95 miles per hour coming out of the bullpen? Was that something the Phillies had before Dombrowski was here?
Okay,
in terms of the way that he's organized this organization from top to bottom with an actual plan of development and getting the best out of guys from top to bottom in this organization? Is that part of the equation
I think Dombrowski is a very good general manager. But what I'm saying is when you look at this team who has World Series or bust aspirations, if they only go to the NLCS this year, it's a disappointment. I think it was on him at the trade deadline to do everything possible to make this team as much of a contender as you could be.
Your assumption is he didn't.
Your assumption is that there was not something possible.
You lived in his office.
How can you say he did?
You lived under his desk like George Costanza, and you realized that he didn't do everything possible.
How can you say that he did? How can you say
he didn't?
You just can't.
How do you know what was there?
You just can't click your fingers and get somebody's pitching ace to make him your fourth starter. You just can't do that. The guys that are going to be available to you are all Taijuan Walkers.
So I think they should have tried to make the move. But even if they couldn't, let's say you're correct and there was nobody available for them, then it's up to Dombrowski to make the decision weeks ago to DFA Taijuan Walker, not send Phillips back down, not send Allard back down. You got to do something to give your team a chance to win. Yesterday was a scheduled loss. We all agree it was a scheduled
Here's the other
scheduled
side.
loss. You almost had me dropping bad words on the air.
Yeah, they lost 1 of 3. It's not really a big deal. So there wasn't a major risk in sending Taijuan Walker out yesterday. It didn't work out. So now you have more knowledge and you can't carry it any longer. It's like people are saying, well, Dombrowski ordered Thompson to pitch him. No, Thompson knows the landscape. Thompson knows what's at stake here. Thompson knows that the organization is going to be reluctant to give up that kind of coin on a guy, so give him one more chance. He didn't have to be ordered to send Taijuan Walker out there. He was hoping to get 5-6 innings out of the guy.
Mike,
he got 5-6 innings.
You keep saying one more chance. How many more chances did you have to give this guy before it was obvious to everyone he didn't have anything left? Walker's done.
Now, wait. Go to the alternatives here. The alternatives that you've suggested within the organization for them to pitch instead of Walker. Who were they brought in here by? All of them. All the ones that we've listed out.
We're talking about Dombrowski?
Yeah, we're talking about Dombrowski.
Okay, but the decision he made, it's up to Dombrowski about who goes up and who comes down, right? Who's sent down, who they call up, right? Isn't that a general manager's decision?
I imagine it's a collaborative, like where a guy's at here, pitching from Lehigh Valley there. But yeah, go ahead.
So he was the one who decided that I was going to send Phillips down, I'm going to send Colby Allard down, and I'm going to continue to keep Taijuan Walker on the active roster.
Now, they got Walker. They got to September with Walker here. There is a way to hide him on this roster when rosters expand to 28. There's also a way to just put him with the Phantom IL coming up for him.
If you're Dave Dombrowski and you watch the likes of Mercado and Phillips over the last 3 starts that they gave him, what did you see?
I didn't say Mercado. I wouldn't have had him start.
What did you see in Tyler Phillips?
I saw that he at least gave you an opportunity to win a game.
He did? When was that? When did he give you an opportunity to win? It was his last 3 starts. He got bombarded and hung on to pitch to the 5th.
Did he pitch better than Walker?
No.
You don't think he pitched better than Walker?
He did not pitch better than Walker.
Let's pull it up.
Even if you think that's the case and you think that Tyler Phillips is the answer to solve this problem, guess who gave you that answer? The guy that you're ripping right now.
What I'm saying is Dombrowski is a good general manager. What I'm saying is that it was up to him when it became clear that you didn't have a 5th starter, when you didn't have a good enough outfield, he needed to upgrade it, and he didn't. And then what he decided to do...
Is this all because they lost yesterday a game?
No,
it's
because
this venom is coming from?
all of the weaknesses that existed with this team before the trade deadline still exist today.
They're still in first place. I don't know, Chuck. They're saying, what did they drop?
Still first in the
Right?
East.
Are they still in first?
Still first in the East, yeah.
All right. 610-632-0975.
I need some support,
We'll
Mike.
get to you. You're not getting it. I don't think anybody's going to give this to you today.
Pick up the phones and give me some support.
We got some callers, so 610-632-0975. We'll see. Back after this. Isn't this pleasant music, Bill?
It is
You
nice.
sit around in your house and, you grab a iced tea. And you look out the window and the sun's shining. All right.
Taiwan Walker on the mound.
In any event, let me get into this because now I'm going to go into the mind of Dave Dombrowski. And here's how you get in. It's 610-632-0975. Here's Dave Dombrowski. He's pondering. He's at his desk. He goes, my alternatives for the fifth starter on this team are Manny, Mo, and Jack. Now, Manny makes the most money. As a businessman GM, which is part of what I have to do here, I owe the man giving me all this money to build a team to try to make it work. Plus, it's not like I have any good alternatives because the only thing I got left are Mo and Jack. Taiwan Walker's not going to see the field in the playoffs anyway. I'm just trying to get 5 innings from him. It didn't work. So, if it doesn't work, then you got to go to Mo and Jack and see how that works. Hopefully, they can just last out the rest of the season with Mo and Jack as their alternatives to get to the playoffs where they won't need, and nor will they have to worry about that position in the rotation.
I'm with you.
They won 2 or 3 for Houston. Taiwan Walker's going to get DFA'd. End of story. Let's move on.
Okay.
Atlanta's coming in. They're missing Chris Sale again. Things are looking up.
I'm with you. I am with you. I just think they should have made the decision to move on from Walker sooner. And I also think that when you look at what was the biggest weakness on this team going into the deadline, it was the outfield. And I don't think he did enough to upgrade the outfield with Austin Hayes. I'm not sold that Austin Hayes is an everyday left fielder. So now you're going to go into this offseason.
Presuming that was not the best he could do. And don't give me Randy Arozarena because there were all kinds of questions about Randy Arozarena since he had hit a wall, since he had that great playoff moment. You're going to give me Randy Arozarena because it's like after the fact thinking. Again, you're looking at his average now and go, look, they passed up.
I don't think
Look at Whit Merrifield. A change of scenery sparks a guy.
I don't think it's after the fact thinking. There were a lot of people calling for Randy Arozarena before the trade deadline. Look, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it'll work out, and we'll see.
Here's the question.
But
Would you have given up your biggest power minor leaguer for Randy Arozarena?
I don't think they would have had to when you look at what Arozarena went for. I don't think they would have had to at all. I think if you were going to try to get a Luis Robert Jr., Chicago wanted too much, you probably would have had to do that.
And again, you're presuming that Dave Dombrowski doesn't know what he's doing. You're presuming that Dave Dombrowski sat on his hands and said, wow, they don't want enough for Randy Arozarena. Maybe they asked for him. Maybe they asked for the prospect for the Phillies, and they didn't with the Seattle. So you can't know.
Okay, here's the problem. With this mentality of you and Ray today, this is the problem. And I have the same problem with you on Rob Thompson. You act as if, they try. They try.
That's the only thing you can do. I trust guys that have expertise, that give their best effort. I don't trust a guy like Sirianni. I don't trust. He hasn't shown enough for me. I trust a guy like Rob Thompson, who's been in baseball for a really long time and knows how to deal with veteran players. And I trust Dombrowski, knowing that he knows what he's doing. It's a matter of trust on the people that are in the jobs.
Okay. Right there with you. Let's talk about Howie Roseman then, because you just brought him up. You brought up the Eagles. I think Howie Roseman's a very good general manager. I like him as the Eagles general manager. But at the same time, I can point out that he failed that defense last year. He didn't bring in enough talent last year. Now, under your line of thinking, you would say, well, he probably tried to sign defensive players.
I wouldn't say that with him. I reserve the right to change my opinion on everybody, and I go by feel. But you go by low-hanging fruit. You pick the fruit that's the lowest so you don't have to reach up. I, however, go deep into the upper part of the tree and get the fruit that is not macad, as we used to say around the neighborhoods.
I want you to go,
meaning bruised up.
I want you to go back to before the trade deadline. What did Mike Missanelli want to see the Philadelphia Phillies do? Nothing?
They obviously needed an outfielder. Okay. They got one.
And are you happy with Austin Hayes?
At the time, I go, that's not a bad move. Grabbing that guy who used to be a starter, who's had some success in the league, is not a bad move. And the reason why he's not playing in Baltimore is because they have a lot of good young players there. I thought it was a good move. Now, it still might turn out to be a good move. Last night he broke up a no-hitter, which you also have a problem with.
I do have a problem with that.
All right, so last night, Randy Spaghetti has a no-hitter going.
What a game.
Dave Righetti has a no-hitter going last night, and an infield hit breaks it up. And Austin Hayes celebrated a little bit. You didn't like that.
I don't know why I've turned into this.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't like it either.
Complainer. All right,
This
good.
is the first time I agree with you today.
All right, good.
I didn't like it either.
I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah, you break up a no-hitter in a 10-0 game with an infield dribbler, and you're going to throw your hands up in the air and then smirk to your
and shimmy.
dugout?
Did the shimmy.
Yeah, come on.
All right, let's go to the phones. Zach and Manioc. Zach, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Zach?
Mikey, been a long time, man.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. My dad died while you were away. He would
I'm
he'd
sorry.
love to hear you back.
Sorry to hear
He
that.
loved you. And great show. Your boy Bill getting everybody fired up 45 seconds in.
Coming out of the gate strong, man.
With that nincompoop of a point. He signed Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez this offseason. The only reason they had to build that lead with the pitching in the first half.
Listen, we're talking about a fourth starter here. Okay,
Fifth starter.
A fifth starter, but he was slotted as the fourth guy. You're not going to hit on everybody. The players go bad. Taijuan Walker went bad. All right, at the time he signed him, I go, that's pretty healthy. That's a lot of money for a guy, but at least he's building up depth in his rotation with guys who can give him some innings, which I didn't have a problem with.
In 2 months, your boy's going to be complaining about the Flyers' third-line right winger or something. You got to be happy. They're right there. The next 4 weeks are huge.
There you go, Zach. There you go. I like
we're taking 3 out of 4 from the Braves. All right, have a good weekend.
All right, Zach. I like the optimism from Zach. They lost a bad game last night. Almost got no hit. That guy wanted to stay in the game. You believe that? He was at 100 pitches. The manager came out to take him out. He was like, "Oh no, come on, dude."
Yeah, he wanted to
I love
stay.
that back and forth.
Yeah, come on. You're done. You're toast.
He gave it up a little quickly, though. He acted as if he wanted to stay in, and then he smiled.
Yeah.
He knew he wasn't. There was no chance. 100 pitches.
All right.
no-
Now, yesterday, I got to get this out because a lot of people are probably going to call me. I said Bryce Harper's immune from criticism. Well, he wasn't yesterday. There's one thing I can't forgive. It's not knowing his situation and not paying attention. And that goes for Alec Boehm. It goes for any outfielder who throws to the wrong base like Rojas does all the time. And it certainly goes for Bryce Harper, who wasn't aware enough of the situation where he's kind of like, I don't know, trying to put a retag on a guy at first base after a pickup. Hey, there's a guy on third, Skip. Yo! Ho!
Yeah.
Bryce! Anybody home? You forget how many outs there are. You forget a situation like there's a guy at third. You're not thinking the game 100%, and I got a problem with that. You got to think the game 100%. You make a physical error, that's fine.
Yeah, he was more concerned with apologizing to the guy. I think he thought he landed on him or something. But I'm with you, man. Look, you said he was immune from criticism, not me.
I did. You're not. I should revise that. You're not immune from criticism if it's a mental mistake.
I can get behind that.
All right.
I can get behind that. And I'm with you. Look, Harper gives it his all. He wants to win, but that was a mental mistake.
Total mental mistake. There's a man on third base. Be aware of the situation. It's not that hard. My God, you're in field of position. You're thinking to yourself, if there's a really hard one hopper to me, I got to check him, and he's on third. And if he goes, I got to make sure that I'm prepared to throw a strike to the home plate. I don't understand how you don't know there's a guy on third base in that kind of a situation, especially if it's Altuve. Altuve, that little spunky bastard, he'll probably try to steal home. That's got to go through your mind.
Did you see when the camera panned to him and Alec Boehm next to each other?
No. What Boehm saying?
Boehm's just so much taller than that guy.
Boehm, Harp.
Your boy Boehm, man, he was sulking again yesterday.
He's a sulker. What kind
So
of
clearly no
one's
one's spoken to him.
Let's go to Jorge on the cell. What's up, Jorge?
What's up, Mike Missanelli?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm glad you're back on the radio. My son and I have been enjoying you since August 12th, man. It's great to hear you
Thank
back.
you,
I've been listening to you
George.
for a long time. It's Jorge, not George, man.
Well, I know. I just gave you like I was being chummy with you. I said Jorge at first.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Anyway, I've been listening all day. Bill getting hit upside his head with all your baseball points. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. I've been listening to Bill since he was on Saturdays. I like him. I like Bill. But Mike whipping your ass with the baseball points, man.
I appreciate the kind words, but where am I wrong, Jorge? What did Dombrowski do at the deadline to make this team better?
First and foremost, I've been hearing you wanting an outfield, that guy Robinson Jr. since the summer, since early in the summer.
Rosarena.
No, he's talking about Luis Robert. I've been preaching for him.
Luis Robert Jr. too. Yeah.
I've been listening to you Saturday mornings. You've been on that since that. We're not getting it. We're good. We're a good team. I think the Phillies are a great team, dude. Walker's a bum. He's not. He probably gonna get waived, like Mike Missanelli said. So I had to call because I'm like, oh my God, this is frustrating when Bill keeps saying about, the outfield and Walker.
Yeah, he left Luis Robert Jr. and he's on Rosarena.
I think that's his favorite player. I think that's his favorite
I did like Luis Robert. I was calling for him on weekends like crazy. Jorge's correct.
Right. Yeah, told you. But anyway, I appreciate you guys taking my call. I just wanted to get that in, man. I appreciate it. I've been listening for a while. Thanks for coming back.
I appreciate it. Thanks for calling and continue to call. What's my boy doing this year? Your boy in Chicago. They had 17 fans yesterday.
Right. So here's my position.
They literally counted 17 fans.
I don't think it is fair to judge anything Luis Robert is doing right now on a terrible Chicago White Sox team. My point before the deadline was if you could get him, and look, I don't think Dombrowski could get him. I think Chicago was asking for a crazy return. But my point was you put him in this lineup on a winning team, I think Luis Robert Jr. performs a lot better than he is on a terrible White Sox team.
Whit Merrifield, where he felt uncomfortable here, living up to the standards of all these guys. He goes to Atlanta. There's no expectations. They go, dude, just go play second base. We need you. We have no alternative. Go out and play free. And he's hitting again.
He is.
So that would have been your same principle for Luis Robert Jr.
Well, a little different. I think he would have been protected a little bit more in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being on a losing culture like the White Sox affects a player. I think you come here to a winning culture, maybe he would have performed better. But it doesn't look like, to your point earlier about Dombrowski may have tried to get certain people, I don't think you gave up as much as Chicago was looking for. Weren't they looking for a Soto-type deal from what was being reported, Ray?
Yeah, it was reported they were looking for a Soto deal, but that was also early on in the whole process.
So his numbers this year are he's just a victim of a bad situation.
Yeah, and he battled injuries. He has battled injuries throughout his career, but I just wanted that power bat. I wanted that right-handed power bat that could be an everyday center fielder, and then you could platoon left field. But what they decided to do was bring in Austin Hayes, and now you're going to platoon center with Marsh and Rojas. I don't think you've upgraded that much. But again, and I know this is going to sound crazy, I still think the team is good enough that they can win. But I wanted Dombrowski to do everything possible to make it more likely that they would win a World Series.
You good at math?
Very good at math.
He has 295 at-bats this year, Luis Robert. He struck out 112 times. Give me the percentage of strikeouts that is. That's got to be close to 40%.
Got to be close to 40%.
40%.
Yeah. But the difference is, because Marsh does the same thing. Marsh strikes out
so
like crazy.
You were going to play Robert in center field and Marsh in left.
Yeah, I think you would have to put Marsh in left.
How many strikeouts would you have had?
That's a lot of strikeouts.
See, these are the things that the general manager has to talk about
at least,
and think about.
But here's the difference. With Luis Robert versus Hayes, Marsh, Luis Robert has power.
He has 14 home runs this year.
Yeah, but the year before he was a 30 home run guy.
38.
So.
But that's the only year he's had 30.
Because of
he's
injuries.
had 11, 13, 12, and now 14.
And look, I did want Luis Robert before the trade deadline. I understand the price tag was probably too high. When you look at Dombrowski, I don't think he did enough to move the needle for this baseball team. That's all. And I think he's the reason that Taijuan Walker got another start. They've now lost 9 straight of Taijuan Walker starts. At what point does the general manager step in and say, all right, I got to figure something out?
I think you're looking at this way too literally. As if, there was a phone line established when they were away over the weekend, straight to Thompson. You go to that presser and you announce that Walker's starting on Wednesday. The rosters expand at the start of September. If they really don't want to eat the money for him, they'll probably try and hide him on the roster because they can bring another pitcher up who will take that spot in the rotation, and he gets mop-up duty, and he just cleans up all of the bad situations that they have in the next month.
So were you okay? Were you okay with him starting yesterday?
I'm going from the mentality of what Dombrowski's doing. Ultimately, you laid it out, what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago? Didn't you come in here and say, well, they didn't really have another option? I was furious when he was going to start again.
They didn't have another option, which leads me to my point. They didn't have another option because of Dave Dombrowski. He made the decision to send Tyler Phillips down.
I'm at this right. We're almost at the top of the hour. Right now, at this moment, I'm ridiculous argument punchy. Like I've been listening to Bill's ridiculous arguments, and I feel like I've sparred with somebody. You know, I get these mini bruises all over me trying to fight this battle.
Well, according to Jorge, you're whipping his ass. I don't think you're actually taking any punches here.
I am just shocked.
He's a little rabbit puncher.
I am shocked that both of you are okay that Taijuan Walker was still here.
Oh, my God. They lost one game of 3. They gave him another chance. It didn't work. Now they have total clarity on it. You learn something sometimes through a loss, through sending a guy out. What they've learned is they can't go on with them.
You needed yesterday to learn that?
Yes.
You needed yesterday?
Yes. It was a small price to pay. You give the guy another chance. You've already won 2 games in the series. All right, now you know for definite. You have to eat the money. All right? They didn't want to eat the money. He's got a boss to answer to who's spending all kinds of money. He's trying to milk it for all it's worth. He just can't say, hey, Mr. Middleton, I'm just going to cut $36 million for you, okay? You had to give him one chance.
I disagree. One chance, maybe. 2 chances, maybe.
Again,
3 chances. How many chances,
This is
Mike?
why I'm ridiculous argument punchy. Because you are presuming there's some kind of marvelous solution and marvelous alternative to what happened yesterday. There wasn't.
Also, he would have been crazy at the deadline to go get a 5th starter, a guy that wasn't going to start the postseason. We would have panicked because we would have thought it meant something about Ranger Suarez. Everyone would have looked at that as like, oh no, what happened to Ranger? Ranger's must not be healthy.
I disagree.
You know where Lewis Roberts from?
Where is he from?
He's from Guantanamo.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought he was Cuban.
Guantanamo is Cuban.
No, I'm sorry, not Cuban. He is Cuban, but I thought he was born in Ciego de Avila, Cuba, not Guantanamo.
It says born Guantanamo, Cuba on my Wikipedia.
ESPN says Ciego de Avila.
It might be a suburb of Guantanamo. And
maybe you're right.
Wikipedia rounded it off.
Potentially.
610-632-0975. And bring cigars. It's the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Shady's back. It's the Mike Missanelli Show, 97.5 The Fanatic, 610-632-0975. You know, we batted around the Phillies situation with Taijuan Walker. You know, at the end of the day, it's not that bad of a situation, all right? They wound up winning 2 or 3 from the Houston Astros at home, and now they host the Atlanta Braves in a really big series where they can kind of put away the Braves and kind of alleviate our concerns about Taijuan Walker, who I expect in the next, maybe even today, to be DFA'd. There's no other alternative. You can't put him in the bullpen. You can't send him to the minor leagues. You have to DFA him, which is designated for assignment, in which case you have a certain amount of days to either make a trade, which nobody's going to make, or somebody can pick him up off waivers. Then nobody will do that because of his price tag. And so at the end of this whole train here, he will be free to sign with anybody that he wants and anybody who wants to pick him up. And somebody will. Somebody will pick him up. You're so desperate for pitching that you need a back-end rotation guy who can give you 5 innings, and some team will take a chance that he can do that. But it's not going to be here, and there's no reason for them not to cut the cord right now. So now let's move into some Eagles talk. As you know, I look at this team and I go, okay, they're okay. It's interesting that a team that may have the best offensive personnel ever in their history, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, I could be a little leery of their win total. I've got them winning 11 games. There are some pundits out there that have them below 10. And some idiot also said that they would finish third and miss the playoffs in the division, which I don't take seriously at all. But this gets me to the head coach. And a tremendous story that was written today by my pal and our pal, Shio Kapadia, who's a really good reporter and puts things in proper perspective from the time that he was here. Now it works for the Ringer. So we all know that they lost 5 of their last 6 regular season games. They finished 11-6. They got embarrassed in the wild card round, so 7 of 8, or 6 of 7, whatever it was. They started 10-1, and failed to win at least 12 games. And nobody in football history has done that, right? So they decided to bring back the coach. They waited a long time to bring back the coach. 9 days until they get the ducks in a row to get him to agree. Guess what? You're going to be. You're be a figurehead guy. You stand on the sidelines, and we're going to hire your coordinators, and they're going to have full reign of their offense and defense. So you just kind of stand around. And I don't want a coach that just stands around. So I am very leery of how this thing is going to work out when a head coach doesn't even get to make decisions on his own staff. So the CEO head coach is what he is. Is he John Harbaugh? Is he Mike Tomlin? I don't know. They just did discuss Bill Belichick. So he is coaching for his life. And I don't believe he should have gotten a chance to coach for his life. Bill, on the other hand, looks at a situation like, well, look at his record in his first few years and what he's done. So much good. Yeah, and he has earned a chance to come back. I think that football is a really tough business. I understand he's 34-17. He's been in the playoffs 3 times. He's got a Super Bowl berth. He's at the 14th highest winning percentage of any coach who has coached 50 games in this league. And yet, I still didn't believe he should be pulled back. But he was. And Bill's happy about that, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah is right. No, I think he deserved to come back. And I've said this before. You were asking him to do something. It's not only the record. There has been a whole lot of good. Go ahead, Ray.
So much good.
So much good. I knew that was coming. So there has been a lot of good. He's made the playoffs all 3 times he's been the head coach of this football team. Only the first coach to do that in Eagles franchise history. But it's more about what he was dealing with last season. He's only the 3rd coach to go to the Super Bowl, Mike, and lose both of his coordinators. 3rd time in Super Bowl era that has happened. So you were asking Nick Sirianni to try to do something that only 2 other coaches had to deal with. And you're talking about George Seifert and Bill Belichick. Neither one of them got past the divisional round. So what I was saying is he deserved to come back. And we'll find out this season if it was the right move.
Well, he's not even coming back as a coach.
That's incorrect.
No, he's not even coming back as a
Coach in the
coach.
world.
The autonomy has been given to the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. What do you see?
He will be
He deserved the
responsible.
chance to do what? Come back and stand on the sidelines?
He will still be responsible for the game day decisions, which I think, and you can't disagree with this, Sirianni has been a very good game day decision coach. There's very few times where you watched the regular season or the playoffs over the last 3 years and you walked away from a decision of his and scratched your head and said, well, why did they do that? He's usually pretty good on game
So
days.
much good.
Very good with clock management. Very good with clock
It's
management.
amazing to me how you can sit here and see a guy who was an abject failure at the end of last year and support him, and then look at a guy like Dombrowski and rip the crap out of him. It's mind-boggling to me.
So here's the difference.
Oh, we got some breaking news.
We do have some breaking news. Go ahead,
throw it
Mike.
in. Brad Barry.
Now, breaking sports news
Brad
from
Barry.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
This is how they stash him. Bradbury out 6 to 8 weeks with a lower leg injury. I don't know where that happened in his kitchen.
Practice yesterday.
Oh, it was practice yesterday.
That's what they're saying.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. All right. So let's get back to this.
But yeah,
thing.
so here's the difference.
He will lead team meetings.
But Dave Dombrowski, Mike, because you made the point. Dave Dombrowski, I do think is a very good general manager. What I'm saying is I just don't think he did enough in this offseason or before this trade deadline to turn the weaknesses into strengths. I think you can criticize him.
And the head coach of the Eagles, losing 7 of 8, did.
No,
He did.
Again, you can criticize him. The job that Nick Sirianni did at the end of last season was terrible. That entire team was terrible at the end of last season. But I don't think you take 6-7 games over how long's he been the coach? 56 games? That you take the last 6 or 7 games and make a decision about him based off of that.
So I'm not doing a good enough job.
Yeah, once the BO's in the car, you can't get rid of the BO. As a Seinfeld episode. Like you can try to clean it up as much as you want. You can spray as much Febreze as you want. It's not going to take away the stink. So here's what Shield writes. I'm just going to quote his story. He will lead team meetings. He will address the media. He will try to foster a healthy culture. He will be responsible for communicating and connecting with the players. The hope is that might be enough. I don't know. Is that enough for a head coach?
What does Dan Campbell do?
A head coach without any perceived strategy, I don't know. What's the point?
What's Dan Campbell do? He doesn't call the active plays. He doesn't call the defense. So I mean, there are
Dan Campbell was a former NFL player, tough guy, who has the respect of his players along those lines. The other guy is planting flowers. And hoping they grow.
We made fun of that. We made fun of that flower speech. We did. What did they do
I'm
after
saying
that?
there are two different perspectives on when you look at Dan Campbell, when you look at Nick Sirianni. And listen, my mind's wide open. I'm one of these guys that will use his eyeballs to get the message to his brain on whether this is okay, whether this is going okay. We shall see.
When you had a competent offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen and a competent defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon 2 years ago, was Nick Sirianni okay as the head
They
coach?
were running an offense that Nick Sirianni wanted to run. Let's face it. Shane Steichen was no great genius from the planes that flew in. He was doing what Sirianni wanted to do, just like Brian Johnson was last year.
Okay, and how was the 2022 Eagles? They're pretty damn good,
How
weren't
was
they?
the last one?
So I'm saying that's why he deserved the third shot. If you're saying 2022 was great and it was all Sirianni,
When you lose 7 of your last 8, you don't deserve another shot. That's my point. The stink was so bad that you can't justify it with previous records. It's a stink that you can't get rid of.
I think that you're dead wrong in moving on from him.
Okay. Let's go to Ian in West Philly. Ian, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Ian.
Mike, so what you're saying is that the Eagles franchise is basically like a 1995 light BMW 540 left on the street with the keys in it, so someone will steal it
Because it has BO.
because it has BO. I mean, I guess no.
It's got BBO is what it's got.
I hope Bill gets that one. I'm sure
No, he doesn't get it. Bill's not a Seinfeld guy.
Yo, I gotta say, dude, it is so good to have you back. It's like having back one of the heads of the 5 families of Philadelphia sports talk radio who went away for a few years.
I was Yeah, I went to college.
on vacation.
Yeah, I went to college, as the mafia guys say.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
No, so I'm calling in, as much heat, and he deserves to be the headline today, as much heat as we should be giving our boy Ty Weezy. The real taking a lot of shrapnel today for that Phillies lineup, for I don't know how many swing and misses that they had. And like I was telling Bill earlier, I understand baseball. I understand the ups and downs of the season. I understand that this has been an extremely prolonged down. But the deal is that that's the real story from yesterday's game. Almost going no hit against a rookie pitcher. And it's the way they did. The way that they didn't hit for contact when you're just trying to get a hit. I mean, that is the real problem.
Yeah, but again, it's a guy they hadn't seen before. It's a guy that had racked up double-digit strikeouts in his last 3 outings. Have been pitching pretty well. So a game like that's not going to happen. Before that, they hit. Okay, so I don't think that last night is indicative of them going through the same old funk offensively. It's one game.
You make a good point there, but let me just say this before I go, is that if for all the Taiwan haters out there, and he deserves it a little bit, but the thing is, and everybody who's like, how can he get another start? This guy is like a bald tire on the Garden State Parkway, and you're just trying to make it to a party at Sea Isle, Ocean City, Avalon, wherever, and you're going to make it there, and so they're just trying to make it to the playoffs. They just want to get to the party down at the shore, and they don't care if they're going at 40 miles an hour.
Well, listen, they do. They expected more out of him. They really did. And when they signed him, that's what they didn't expect Cy Young. They expected innings. And he got 2 swings and misses yesterday. 2 in the 6 innings that he pitched. That's an indication that you don't have any stuff left. You don't have anything left.
Mike,
That's why he's got to be DFA.
He's the first Philadelphia Philly to give up 13 hits without a strikeout since Blix Donnelly in 1948.
He didn't get a look and strikeout. And he got 2 swings and misses. That's unbelievable. I can get 2 swings and misses. Weston Wilson throwing crap, which embarrasses the game, by the way. I'll get on that in a second. That bothered me a lot.
You hate that.
I hate it. Mike Missanelli Show back after this. Missanelli show, yeah, you got me thinking of The Godfather now. And we talked about Louis Robert Jr. being from Guantanamo. And The Godfather, I think it was Godfather 2. Well, when did the Cuban president abdicate? In Godfather 1 or 2? Was it 2? When did Michael kiss Fredo on the mouth and say, "You broke my heart"?
It was
that
2.
One? That was 2?
Wasn't that 2?
All right, yeah, it was 2. So
I think.
That scene was a big New Year's Eve party, right?
Yeah.
And that's when Fulgencio Batista abdicated and said, and here's what he said: "Por las perdidas que han sufrido nuestras tropas en Guantánamo y Santiago, saldré de país."
Ray, you know what that means?
Nope.
Ray's shaking his head. They can't hear you.
That means, due to the losses our troops have suffered at Guantanamo and San Diego, I'll be leaving the country. So that's when Castro came in. That was like a historical reference in The Godfather 2. So they ought to get out of Dodge because it was new regime. No more American influence in Cuba. Guantanamo y Santiago.
I'm sure you've answered this question a bunch. 1 or 2? What's your favorite?
1. Nothing tops 1. I know people try to make the case that 2 is better because it's got a more complete situation.
Yeah.
But let's face it, no Sonny in 2.
Sonny was great.
in 1. I've always wanted to do that, what Sonny did to those FBI guys when they were at the wedding and they're taking photos of the license plates. And he comes out and he grabs the guy's camera and he smashes it. But then he has enough integrity to throw him some dollars. Right? I always wanted to do that. Yeah, here's your camera. But here you go. Here's a couple hundred.
James
Go
Caan.
buy yourself a new one.
James Caan, that was his second best role. His best role was as head coach in the program. That was a joke. That was a joke.
His best role was in Vegas, the TV show Vegas, where he was the casino operator with Josh Duhamel.
I don't know that.
Oh, Vegas, the series Vegas.
Never heard of it.
Get out of here!
Yeah,
he had all those beautiful women that were working in the casino, and he was kind of an ex-criminal, but he had taken over the casino. But, right, you ever saw Vegas, the show?
Nope.
Vegas, the TV show? Mm-mm. Oh, come on.
Never heard of it.
Molly Sims, the model, was in it.
No, never heard of it.
No?
I got to look it up.
Oh, man.
Now, you knew this. James Caan was going to be Rocky instead of Sylvester Stallone.
That wouldn't have been good. Well, that was Sylvester's baby. He wasn't going to give it up to Jimmy Caan.
That was one of the things they wanted.
Really?
The studio wanted Caan.
Wow. Well, that was, yeah. And
Sly pushed back.
Sly fought for it. Yeah,
he
well,
pushed back.
Good for him. All right, let's go to John in Delaware. John, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. John.
Hey, Mike, welcome back.
Thank you, John.
Great to have you back. So the reason Sirianni's there is because Lurie and Howie want him. He's a yes man.
Well,
right?
Listen, it made sense for them to want him back because if they zipped him, that would have made them look bad because they had bragged about they discovered this new face. And they don't like to admit when they get something wrong. So they were giving him another chance on the proviso, knowing that he would take it. Listen, you're coming back as the coach, but we've kind of neutered you. Okay, I'll take it.
Of course. But that's why they hired him to begin with. Because
they hired him because they thought they were going to get an Andy Reid out of it. Because they're smarter than everybody else. They did their research. We found this unknown guy who's going to be the next coming. That's why they did it. They love themselves when it comes to selections.
Right, I get it, but still, he's nothing special, right? And they got to realize.
Well, according to Bill, he said, "Well, he took you to the Super Bowl. Took you to the Super Bowl. Look what he did.
3 straight playoff appearances.
Right, 3 straight playoff appearances. I can't argue with that. I was just so put off by the collapse that he did nothing. He couldn't do anything. No ability to change a collapse for a decent team, and that was enough for me.
No, I get it, but he's still there because they want him there because he's not going to make a fuss about anything. Bring whoever you want, and they roll with it.
But they're not going to keep him if this season goes bad.
No, they can't.
Right.
They can't.
And I agree with you on that.
And in fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they got off to such a bad start that they would, make Kellen Moore the head coach.
I don't see that.
We'll see.
No, it would.
They get off to a 1-5 start.
Right.
What do you think would happen?
Yeah, you know what? they got nothing to lose by going with Kellen Moore. That way,
at that point, it's desperation. You're trying to save the season, get in the playoffs. You can't afford with 2 more losses, right? So you have to do something desperate.
Right, but the bigger picture is now they don't lose their coordinator if he's really good, and he goes on to be a head coach, and now they're starting over again.
Yeah, but if he's really good, Sirianni stays because the record will be good. You can't fire a coach. Because
No, I know. I realize that.
Yeah, so Kellen Moore gets a job somewhere else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can't do that. But if it's bad, they make Kellen Moore, and then he turns it around, and he's the
but if it's bad, wouldn't Kellen Moore have something to do with it being bad? That's the thing. You're like you're caught. You're in a vice.
Well, that's why I don't see them moving on from Sirianni until the end of the season if they're struggling, because the alternative would be you turn it over to Moore.
Unless the offense is ranked in the top 5 and the defense is just killing them.
And is that Sirianni's fault or Roseman's? See, this is where I keep coming around. If the team struggles this year, a lot of people think it will be because of the defense, not because of the offense. If the defense struggles, I firmly believe it will once again be because they had a lack of personnel, just like they did last year. That's not on Sirianni. That's on Howie Roseman. If Roseman doesn't give enough players to that defense, Sirianni will take the fall, I'm sure, next offseason, because that's just the way the NFL works. But I don't think you can blame Sirianni for the defense being bad again if they don't have personnel.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't. I'm not one of those guys that says because you hired Vic Fangio, the defense is going to be any better. Because while he has been a well-respected defensive coordinator, he has produced in the last 8 seasons. Well, he's had 8 seasons as either coordinator or head coach, and in those 8 seasons, how many top 10 defenses has he produced?
You talking about the Sheil Kapadia article?
Yes.
So I did it. I don't know what he based it on.
DVOA.
So he did it on DVOA.
DVOA. He's produced the top 10 defense once. And I'm going to give you another concern of mine because I want to get it out here so I don't say, well, you waited for this to happen. I am afraid or scared, as we used to say, of Darius Slay.
33.
He is 33 years old. And as this article points out, last year there was exactly one corner in the NFL who was 33 or older and started at least 10 games. That means either you get hurt or you don't perform.
Well, last year he missed some games, so I do expect him to miss some games this year. But the reason I'm not as concerned is I am high on Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers. And I think those guys could step in and be okay on the outside. But it is a concern. Darius Slay.
So if you bench Darius Slay, what do you think he's going to go?
No, not bench him.
Whistle a tune?
You were talking about injuries.
Sidelines?
You're talking about
I'm talking about being benched as well. Because a lot of these 33-year-old guys just can't do it anymore, and they have to be replaced.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there.
What kind of situation would that be if they did that to him?
I'm hoping that's a smart enough player that even if he loses a step, he could figure it out.
All right. 610-632-0975. A couple open lines. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the Phillies situation and the Eagles situation. And we're also going to evaluate whether this is the best offense the Eagles have ever had. We're going through the years. Mike Missanelli Show continues. Two things that stood out last night in the Phillies game. Well, actually, three. Number one was the Harper blunder. Number two, the pitch that Mercado threw after Alvarez hit the home run.
The one that doinked him in the head?
Pimped it a little bit. I'm thinking, Mercado, maybe to win some points with my fellas, I got to throw up and in. Now, a cutter is thrown still with hard velocity, and that's what the pitch apparently was. So it wasn't a straight fastball. But a cutter is similar velocity than a fastball, a little tick down. And that was right at his head. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was a beeline for his head. I think he was definitely trying to throw up and in to win some points.
You think so?
Yep. Because Alvarez pimped it a little.
But you don't think he intended on hitting him? Just a little chin
I
music?
don't believe he wanted to hit him in the head. Anybody does that. I mean, Mercado seems like a mild-mannered kid, so I don't know if he would try to hit him in the head. I think he tried to go up and in. But if I was the Houston players, I would have been upset. They weren't upset about that. I would have been.
I think he apologized to him going down first. That's what they said on the broadcast. They didn't show it, but they did say he apologized.
All right. Anyway, the Phillies minus 155 tonight. Now, here's the other thing that bugged me. Let me ask you a question. When you warm up, you're a major league player. When you're warming up, you're playing long toss before a game. When you're playing third base and there's a ground ball to you. When you're in the outfield and you're trying to throw to a base, you're throwing that pretty hard, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it is an embarrassment to baseball that they allow a position player to come in and pitch a ninth inning like it's Little League and there's a 10-run rule. If you got behind 10-0, you should suffer for that. You should have to go to your bullpen. There is no rationale that makes sense to me. Well, because you're down 10, let's not use a bullpen guy. That's a bastardization of the game, and I hate it. But the thing I hate more is when you're a guy like Weston Wilson goes in there, frickin' throw the ball. Why make it a slow pitch softball game at that point to make it more embarrassing? It's embarrassing to the game. I hate it.
I am 100% with you. I think Major League Baseball should just make it where you have to designate before the game who are pitchers, and they're the only ones that could take them out. Because I do think it's an embarrassment to the game. When did that start? How long has this been going on where...
Well, they put a restriction in. It's been going on for forever because there's no rule against it. And then they finally put a restriction on it. I don't think it should be permitted. You should not be rewarded by saving one of your bullpen guys because you got down 10-0. It doesn't make any logical sense to me.
You should have to throw him.
Exactly.
And
you have to use your bullpen. Too bad. You're the ones that got down 10-0. You can't throw Weston Wilson in there throwing slow pitch softball. He threw 45 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. He's got an arm, doesn't he? Try to throw it at least 70.
Probably doesn't want to get hurt.
Oh, stop. How many throws do they take? How many throws? Weston Wilson in that inning would have pitched 20 pitches most. They throw like 50 warm-up pitches before a game.
Pitchers do.
No. When you're loosening up, when players are loosening up, they're playing long toss. They're throwing it at a velocity to you have to warm up before a game. You're throwing at a certain velocity. You're not lobbing it to your teammate when you're playing catch with them.
Yeah, but isn't it a little bit different? Throwing from third to first is different than trying to put it over the plate.
Okay, so what? Lobbing it is better to put it over the plate? How do you know that if you lob it, it's going to be a strike? Just throw it straight. When you're a third baseman, are you throwing a strike to first base? Is it that difficult?
It's a little bit different, but I understand the point.
On, man.
Look, they got
You're a professional athlete.
I think they just need to eliminate it entirely. Position players should not be able to pitch unless you have exhausted your bullpen.
Stubbs at least got to 60. Weston Wilson's throw 45 miles an hour. It's a joke.
He's also a little tired coming back from paternity. You know what I mean? A little paternity leave.
I was embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for the game that I respect and love. That they allow this to happen.
Do you think Major League Baseball will put a rule that you can't do it?
No. Because there's too much lobbying by managers saying, listen, I don't want to use up my bullpen. This is the long haul. You want the best product, I got to have my bullpen. Well, guess what? Don't get down 10-0.
Mercy rule, maybe? Little seventh inning, you're down 10.
Mercy rule.
Wave the white flag.
Yeah, they'll have the white flag.
Exactly what I'm trying to avoid, a mercy rule. It's flat out embarrassing.
You got to have your position player walk out to the mound with a white flag, wave it, just walk off the field.
Let me ask you this, Mike, before we go to the call.
Yeah.
We had a caller earlier say, yeah, look, Taijuan Walker's the guy that should get a lot of the blame, but the bats also didn't show up. But when you know as a player, you're a baseball guy, when you know as a player that you have zero chance at winning this game with Taijuan Walker on the mound, do you think those players kind of...
They get down?
Yeah.
Of course they do. Of course they get down. Because it's like all of them are wondering whether he could be successful in this game to give us a chance to win. And when he gave up, what was the fourth inning that he gave up all those runs?
I think it was the fourth.
Okay, we're now we got to fight uphill. Of course it brings you down. And that's another reason why he's got to be DFA'd. You can't send him out again with that kind of a mindset that your players have about it.
So we're in agreement on that. I just am shocked it took until yesterday for you to come to this realization.
Well, what are you talking about? What do you mean realization? They decided to give him one more chance. I recall saying that maybe I wouldn't have given him one more chance.
It's like the fifth
chance. But I
chance.
know the business reasons for it, and I can't deny it. You can't look at it like it's not a business.
Now, do you think Ray could be correct? Because on Sunday, the rosters expand from 26 to 28. Is there any way they just stash him on this roster?
It would send a bad message. What if you can't send? What are you and make him a bullpen guy?
Mop up. He's your new Weston Wilson.
I think it's the best that for everybody and him too to get DFA'd and maybe he can grab on with another team for September.
It's possible.
Now,
I don't see
they got to
it.
bite the bullet. I mean, how much money do they owe him?
36.
They owe him another 18 plus what they owe him this year for the rest of this year.
Yeah, it'd be 36.
Well, it's two more after this year.
Oh, it's two more?
36 is just the next 2 years plus whatever he's
You got to eat it. Sometimes
year.
you got to eat it.
Yeah, it was a 4-year, $72 million deal,
Wow.
and he's in the second year of it.
Let's go to Yardley. Michael, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Mike.
What's up, guys? First and foremost, Mike, welcome back. My name is also Mike, and I've been listening to you for a long time. It's good to hear your voice back on the radio.
Thanks, buddy.
Just to piggyback off of what you guys were saying, you and Bill, about the psychology of the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. Not only does it get your guys down when you know Walker's hitting the mound, for some guys, they'll actually do the opposite, and they'll try to chase. And they'll try to chase pitches because they go, oh, man, we're going to have to put up runs. We're going to have to do – and some guys, they'll try to go into hero mode. And, I mean, that's something that we've seen our Phillies do in and day out in the past 2 months. But I think that's also a point. But I wanted to get back to the Eagles, and I wanted to talk about Howie Roseman and Laurie. I believe one of the main reasons that they did bring Sirianni back, even though he's basically neutered, like you said, Mike, I think it was because of public perception. I think they would think that it would look weird to have let's go to the Super Bowl. 2 years later, he's being dismissed from the team, and have another coach go to the Super Bowl, make the playoffs 3 years straight, and get dismissed from the team. Even though that collapse last season was inconceivable and unforgivable, Sirianni, I believe they brought him back merely because of public perception. They want people who are coaches, who are eligible coaches, coach this team to not be afraid of job security when they come to Philadelphia.
I disagree. I think that those two guys are hell-bent, especially Jeffrey Lurie, are hell-bent on convincing the world that they're smarter than everybody. And so when they chose Sirianni, out of the blue, by the way, off a bad, silly-ass high school Harry interview, they told the world that we found a guy that you couldn't. And that's why I think he's back.
But we know it's not a secret. We know that he's not going to be the one in charge of the offense or the defense. So any kind of success that they have this year can't be attached to him.
I know, but it's a win-win for the Eagles because they go, okay, we're changing. We're not going to fire him because that would make us look ridiculous for hiring him in the first place. So what we'll do is we'll bring in the coordinators that he should have brought in. So they win-win. They go, we bring him back. We don't look ridiculous that this shiny new toy that we put out there failed, and we're going to be better because we've taken a lot of responsibility away from him. It's all a face-saving thing, in my opinion, because that's what they do. They save face. They're not going to give up on a guy that they uncovered. They found him under a freaking rock, Bill. They found him under a rock.
And it worked out pretty good.
Okay.
It worked out pretty damn good.
He lost 7 of 8.
They went to a Super Bowl in his second
He
season.
handled trauma like a child.
They went to a Super Bowl.
Not a professional. Did he handle trauma like a professional last year?
No. But
All right, that's all I need to know. This is the NFL. This is the NFL. This is not Division III.
Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are a well-run franchise?
I can't argue with the way they've run. They've been in, like one of the better franchises. So I get that, but that doesn't mean that they don't. That what I said, both things can be true. And what I said is they don't like to look bad. They really love the fact that they parade around that they're smarter than everybody else.
Okay. That could be correct, but they are a well-run franchise. And I do think that Jeffrey Lurie is focused on trying to win a Super Bowl. You would agree. They want to win a championship.
Of course, because then he can go to parties and say, I won a Super Bowl.
Won a second one.
Oh, exactly.
All right, it would be a second one.
Exactly. That's big for guys like that.
So I firmly believe that the decisions they made this offseason, whether they're right or wrong in keeping Sirianni, I think it was the right move. I think they did that because they truly felt keeping him and bringing in Moore and Fangio gives them the best chance of winning a Super Bowl. I don't think it's just about saving face because, to your point,
Do you think that's a major part of it? That they knew that if they fired him, they would look stupid?
How would they look stupid?
Because they hired it.
And he brought you to a Super Bowl.
Okay, but then, so you then, that's two reasons why you can't fire him. But the main reason is we found this guy that nobody else did.
Yeah, but you think it would make Jeffrey Lurie look stupid if they fired Nick Sirianni when, we found him and he brought us to a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Andy Reid's been in Kansas City for how many years? They still wear Andy Reid pins on their lapel. Those two guys.
Who are you talking about?
Grossman and Lurie. They still wear Andy Reid pins.
They did find him out of nowhere.
Don't forget, NFL world. We hired this guy.
They did find him.
We hired this guy, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. Look at our judgment. We hired a nobody who was good enough to be a Hall of Fame coach. Woo!
They also found Peterson out of nowhere, win a Super Bowl, and then they moved on from him. They moved on from Doug Peterson. I just don't think the only reason they kept him.
4 games.
I don't think the only reason they kept him was to save face. It was the right decision. You can't fire a guy after one bad ending to a season. You can't.
That's not a bad. That's a catastrophic ending.
And
that's why.
So I'm not doing a good enough job.
I see bad endings, right? That was catastrophic. Like, that was historical.
It was.
All right.
But at the same time, you would agree, I know that the buck stops with the head coach and all of that, but you would agree Brian Johnson wasn't good enough as an offensive coordinator. Sean Desai and Matt Patricia.
Maybe he wasn't good enough because Sirianni restricted him. I mean, he's running Sirianni's offense. There's no imagination at all to the point where the quarterback didn't even like the guy. I know. To move on. You're a Sirianni man.
I will be with you. If they struggle this season, no matter what the reasons are that they struggle, Sirianni should not come back.
Yeah.
Okay? But you can't fire a guy who was dealing with all of the things that Sirianni was dealing with when you had that much success during his tenure. The Super Bowl hangover, the 2 new coordinators, the lack of personnel on defense. All of these factors were at play here. To ignore that, I think, is just being a little bit ridiculous.
Okay. We're going to go into a couple things in a 12 o'clock hour regarding the Eagles, but also I want you to think about this as it pertains to the Phillies, because I just started to think about it. If I had to make a list of the top 10 Phillies that I trust right now, what order would you have them? I want to compare my list to your list. If you make a list as we go into the 12 o'clock hour. All right?
Sounds good.
Plus, the Phillies tonight are a pretty big favorite with Christopher Sanchez against Charlie Morton tonight, which is really interesting to me. I mean, it's the Phillies line, but now I'm looking at the home run line. And it has no logic to it at all. But for some reason, Jorge Soler is the second ranked odds-wise to hit a home run tonight. Schwarber is plus 400. Bryce Harper is tied with Soler with plus 500.
I'm looking, too. When was the last time Soler hit a home run?
Jorge Soler is my play tonight.
I think you keep going Bryce, too, man. Bryce hasn't hit a home run since August 9th, I believe.
Yeah. Well, until he hits one, I'm not going to trust it. Jorge Soler's up there for a reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill. On this one,
No, I'm going
the way
with
things have gone with Mike
yeah,
so
listen
far.
to Mike on these.
I'd love for it to be Bryce and not Soler, but
I mean, listen, out of the blue, he's a better favorite at a home run tonight than Marcell Ozuna is. So that gets my attention. All right?
Hypothetical man on YouTube says, feed us tonight, Mikey Miss. We're starving.
out here
Well,
feeding
that's-
families.
That's my play for tonight. Why would Jorge Soler be ahead of Marcell Ozuna, a right-handed hitter as well? The right-handed hitter is the favorite at home run is not Ozuna. It's Soler. Now talk to me. Talk to me, people in Vegas.
You've been spot on with these, man. Spot on. All right, so Soler's
know.
the play. What is it? Plus what?
Plus 500.
Is that worth the 20, Ray?
Wait, you
Jeez.
restock that yet?
No, I didn't restock
You
yet.
didn't restock?
Also, throwing 20 down for me, not exactly. It's a little higher than where I'm
Little
throwing
steep?
money down.
You gonna throw a sawbuck? A $5 bet on that?
$5 bet sounds more
What's a
palatable
$5
to
bet
me.
get you on plus 500?
$250? Right?
Not 200.
No.
No.
$25.
$25. I'm sorry.
25.
25. Yeah, I'm thinking $50.
5 to 1.
Yeah,
Archimedes over here.
$25.
$250.
It's not worth the $5.
Hey, I'll make that bet for you if you want to give me
It's not
50
worth-
to 1.
It's
I'll give
not
you
worth the
$5.
$5 bet. Ray, I see you have texts on Dombrowski on the board. Did any of them agree with me?
Yes.
How about that?
Let's get a couple texts here. Ray seems to be a little butthurt with some people coming at him.
He's very upset.
He's upset. People are coming at our 24-year-old producer, Ray. You have to get by me to get the Ray. I can tell you right now. But what are they saying about you, Ray?
Okay, if we want to start there, we can start there. Because this is,
Let's get that. I'm going to get you heated up here. Some people are attacking you?
this is absurd. It's quite possibly the dumbest thing, not that I've heard today, but in weeks. And I listened to that whole Bill hour on Dombrowski earlier today. Dan Baxter on Twitter. Hey, Bill, if it helps, Ray doesn't really care what happens to the Phillies. That's why he won't agree. I don't care what happens to the Phillies? Me, of all people, of everything that people know
why
about
would
me.
he say that about you? What ammo does he have?
He said, I'm just happy to have a fun thing to do during the summer. I want to know where Dan Baxter was the night Ty Kelly walked it off. I was there. There was like 10 of us
He's
there.
very upset.
There was like 10 of us there.
Ty Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I want to know where Dan Baxter was when we were trying to convince ourselves that Tyler Cloyd, David Buchanan, who just got traded again from the Phillies, who went to the Reds this time. I want to know where you were, Dan Baxter. Telling me I don't care. Were you out there at San Diego this year? Were you out there at Pittsburgh this year? Were you out there in Baltimore this year? I've been to 25 games this year. That's not cheap. There's a lot of time that goes into that.
MBD said Ray's so heated because Nickelodeon's in reruns.
MBD can have that. It's all love with MBD. I'm not.
Ray's invested in the Phillies.
Ray is very invested.
We have to call it the way we see it here.
Ray is a huge Phillies
He's
guy.
upset that I'm not critical enough today following yesterday, which, all right.
Well, I haven't been critical either.
I don't love that I had to watch Taijuan Walker yesterday. That's not fun.
I realized that you're going to lose a game. It's unrealistic to think you're going to sweep the Astros at home. So that's the game they lost. And they found out some stuff yesterday. This was a clarifying loss for the Phillies.
I don't think you needed that loss to clarify that Walker wasn't the guy. Did anybody agree with that Dombrowski didn't do enough at the trade
I think
deadline?
Tyler Phillips was going to beat Houston yesterday after they lost 2 in a row.
He would at least given you a chance.
Come on.
At least giving you a chance. I'm okay with the
Tyler
loss.
Phillips turned into Nolan Ryan for you.
I'm okay with the loss. Well, he's a Eustis guy.
Because he went to Bishop
Yeah,
Eustis
he's a
Prep.
Eustis
You
guy.
see that? That's what it is.
Well, that's the other thing. Is Cy Young sitting in AAA? No.
You don't need a Cy Young. What I'm saying is at the deadline, what did Dombrowski do to improve this team?
Did you want him to improve the starting pitching? Did you actually want him to go out and get a starting pitcher?
See, here's my concern with the starting pitching. And I don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to even put it out into the universe. But the starting pitching is fine right now. And I have to hope and pray that there aren't any injuries down the stretch and that Ranger is, in fact, okay. He looked good. Let's hope that he is. Because if he's not, now we're in a lot of trouble.
Take a break. I'm going to come back. I got some this is going to be interesting. I love to get people's opinion on this, either if you tweet it or you text it or the YouTube chat. I came up with a list of my top 10 trustable Phillies right now. And then also, I'm going to go through the years to prove maybe the assertion that the Eagles right now have the best offense they have ever had in their long, semi-illustrious history. That's coming up on the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hope you got good lunch plans. Just hang out with us as you're having your lunch. The 12 o'clock hour, the Mike Missanelli Show is brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing, 72 months, and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. And don't forget, our 10 o'clock hour is brought to us by Window Nation, where you can take advantage of the 50% off sale right now on all style windows and make no down payment, no payments for 12 full months with no interest. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the news at noon.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Producer Ray Dunn. Still butthurt from people attacking him on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Nonetheless, we'll carry on with the news at noon. Go ahead, Ray.
Hot and bothered today, all right? Really frustrated me with what's going on there on Twitter. But it's all right. We'll move on. We'll get focused on the news at noon. And we're going to start out with a frustrating situation for Will Levis. We found out earlier this offseason that Cooper DeJean dealt with a prank call during the draft. He's not the only one that's had to deal with this. Will Levis revealed on Barstool's Bussin' with the Boys podcast that he was also prank called, and he's got plans of action on this prank call.
Like waiting on maybe a phone call. And I think at pick 29, get a phone call from somebody. It was a prank call from somebody.
You got a prank call?
Yeah.
Was it somebody you knew?
Random number.
Oh my God.
I still have the number saved. I'll find them someday. No, they just
They just sat
snickered
there?
and like hung up. Yeah.
Oh, they laughed.
Yeah.
Like, get out
I
of this
literally
room.
got off the phone. I said, let's go, guys.
All right, that's so somebody had his number somehow and got him and pranked him. They was going to get selected, and he said he's going to find him. Is that what you're interested in there? Right?
Yeah, he said, I will find them someday.
I'll hunt that bastard down, too.
You know how
I would
miserable.
knock on his front door, too.
But you know how miserable your life has to be that you take enjoyment in prank calling guys on draft night? Like, what enjoyment do you possibly get out of that?
Dude, I should let you see my Twitter.
Yeah. You know how Will Levis can get him back? Just send him a case of that new mayonnaise cologne he's sponsoring.
Yeah. Listen, this is actually twice.
Will Levis, I'd find that guy beat his ass and take the rap.
It's terrible.
It's awful, too, because Levis and DeJean, the two that we've now heard have been prank called. It's two guys who are clearly falling in the draft. So they're dying for the phone call. You remember the videos of Will Levis. Well, we remember for multiple reasons.
Yes,
the
we
videos
do.
of Will Levis waiting for the phone call. But he looked miserable sitting there waiting for that call.
Well, it's the biggest night of their lives, and every single pick that goes, you're losing money. You fall from the first to the second round, you lose not only money, you lose the potential of that fifth-year option, too. It's just, I don't know. People need to look in the mirror if they're going to prank call guys on draft night and take enjoyment out of it. What else we got, Ray?
All right, let's move on to another football story here. Mina Kimes had Amon-Ra St. Brown on her podcast, and St. Brown is another one of the athletes that have ventured into the podcast space. So Kimes asked him, what's been harder for him, running routes in the NFL or doing his podcast? As it turns out, all of us in the media space have a very difficult job.
Oof, that's a great question. I would say early on, definitely podcasting, just because I didn't know. You know, it's definitely a skill set that you have to learn. But now it's become easier for me. I've been running routes since I was a kid, so that's not too hard. But definitely podcasting. That it's a trait that you have to definitely work on, a skill that you have to work on. But I'm still growing.
Try doing 4 hours of a radio show, Skip. All right.
Yeah, try doing it with Mike Missanelli.
I've done a podcast. I like to do it, but this is a grind doing this. Isn't Amon-Ra St. Brown's father a muscle dude?
Yeah.
Like Mr. Universe or something?
I think he was one of those.
I think he was a Mr. Universe.
Heavy lifting things. The receiver. Did you watch the receiver doc on Netflix?
No.
Me either.
I got one episode in.
Okay.
And the one thing I took away from it, I literally texted my dad afterwards. I was like, I appreciate that you were not as crazy as Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad was. And that's the one takeaway I got from the first episode. He was nuts with them.
Yeah, he was a competitive bodybuilder. I'm looking it up right now.
I think he was a titleist.
It worked out for him. So
your dad is a muscle dude. competes and Mr. Universe, like you don't even have any option not to be a weightlifter, do you?
Right. And like you could look at my physique.
Listen,
Wasn't gonna work for me.
he wasn't a bodybuilder. Obviously, I'm Arnold Sandbro. I was an athlete, so it's a completely different type of training. But I wonder, like, Mr. Universe had the kids bench pressing at what age?
Oh, it was ridiculously young.
Yeah.
Like I forget what the exact age was it, but of all the things I've seen, like these behind the scenes with parents, that one stuck out to me as like absurd work ethic and weightlifting way, way younger than I would have anticipated.
I hear you.
But hey, it worked out for him.
All right.
But crazy that he comes from that type of work ethic and thinks that podcasting's more difficult than running around in the NFL.
It definitely is.
It is not easy.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. All right. Moving on here. Last one. And this is a two-parter in terms of audio. DeMar DeRozan is going viral this week for getting up some shots. And I'm not talking about basketball. He went on Jeff Teague's podcast and indirectly took a shot at Jeff Teague right in front of him. Take a listen.
I was so worried because I'm like, man, we finally getting good. I think the year before I had made All-Star. So I'm like, man, I'm trying to. I didn't want to be a one-time All-Star type of, you know. Yeah. So I'm like,
Now, tell your story, King.
No shade.
So he did that on accident.
He said, I didn't want to be a one-time All-Star.
Jeff Teague was a one-time All-Star?
Yes.
I don't even remember him being an All-Star.
That was the shocking thing for me, too, out of this. Oh, yeah, Jeff Teague was an All-Star.
Teague, I think I know his college more than I know that he made an All-Star team. Jeff Teague, what did he go? Like Virginia College or something? Like Old Dominion or
Wake Forest.
Oh, he went to Wake Forest? Okay, I was wrong.
But sure enough, he says that to Jeff Teague. Podcast P tweeted out a clip, quote tweeting that video going viral. And this is apparently a DeMar DeRozan problem because he went on Podcast P and had this to say right in front of Paul George's face.
If you just giving up a wide open shot to Damian Lillard, you gonna be, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's definitely a different. I ain't mean to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, was that a shot, bro? Dang, bro. You remember that too, huh?
Oh,
guys, that's enough for DeMar DeRozan for today.
Going with it. No, I'm just trying to think.
All right. Well, wait a minute. So what's the wide open shots you talking about?
The Lillard three that ended that series that Paul George has long contested was a bad shot for Lillard to take that he took in front of him.
Yeah.
So DeRozan has now called Teague a one-time All-Star to his face and made a reference to giving up a wide open shot to Damian Lillard in front of Paul George. I think it's time for DeRozan to stop with the podcast.
Good, man, because they have a lot of fun and they make these kind of mistakes. The only wide open shot I remember was the one Danny Green missed. That would have won the game for the Lakers.
Yes.
That's like the ultimate missed shot. All right, that's the news at noon for today. All right, earlier.
Good job, Ray.
Early in the show, I asked Bill to come up with a list of trustable Phillies. So I'm going to give you my list first, Bill. This is right off the top of my head. These are the top 10 Phillies I trust in this order at this particular time. Zach Wheeler, number 1.
That's who I have number 1 as well.
Right. Bryce Harper, number 2.
I also have him number 2.
Trey Turner, number 3.
Disagree.
Aaron Nola, number 4. Matt Strom, number 5. JT Realmuto, number 6. Jeff Hoffman, number 7. Alec Boehm, number 8. Bryson Stott, number 9. Christopher Sanchez, 10.
And I'm a little different than you.
Okay.
I have Wheeler number 1, Harper number 2. So we're in agreement there. I didn't hear you say Kyle Schwarber.
I missed. That's my fault.
So I have him at number 3.
I missed Kyle Schwarber.
I have him at number 3 because you're only asking him to hit. And you're only asking him really to be a power hitter.
Yeah.
Number 4, I have JT Realmuto. Number 5, Ranger Suarez. Now, I'm hoping that he stays healthy, but what he's shown us in 2 postseasons in a row, I have him above Nola. I got Nola.
Do you trust him right now, though? I mean, he's an obvious one, but I didn't put him on because I don't have any trust yet.
With the injury.
That he's coming back.
Yeah,
this is why it's current. It's got to be like Very, very current.
The reason I do, and this can bring us full circle to the Dave Dombrowski conversation, is if you can't trust Ranger Suarez, then Dombrowski really dropped the ball, not bringing in another starter. So if we're going to trust Dombrowski to the point you made at the beginning of the show, that I'm wrong for criticizing him, then we have to have Ranger Suarez as one of the most trustworthy Phillies, don't we? Because they're not winning a World Series without Ranger. Michael?
Yeah, but he's not trustworthy right now. Like, at the moment, you don't know enough about him coming back.
So then should Dombrowski have brought in another starter?
No, because you had to count on him coming back because that's what wasn't going to win you a dependent if you got a replacement for him. You had to just count on him coming back. I'm just saying that at this particular time, I need to see more than 5 innings. That's all I'm saying. You can put him on.
So I got
finish your
Wheeler, Harper, Schwarber, JT, Ranger, then Nola. Then I'm going to the bullpen. Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strahm, Trey Turner, number 9, and Alec Boehm, number 10. I don't have Sanchez on my top 10 because I haven't seen him do it in the playoffs.
I'm talking about right now, at this particular moment.
Yeah.
You put projection into it. Right, man? I'm talking about right now, at the moment. You trust Christopher Sanchez?
Number 11 on my list. Yeah, number 11. Estevez, number 12.
Honorable mention.
Oh, man. You're tripped. Matt Strahm is one of the most trustable guys on this team right now.
I have him on the list.
Yeah, but you got him way down.
Number 7.
That's an insult. All right. 610-632-0975. I want to get into this because this is really interesting. Who said that this is the best Eagle offense? Was that Tim McManus?
Tim McManus.
Tim McManus, our pal Tim McManus. Did
And DeCecco said it today, too.
Okay. That this is the best Eagle skill group of all time. So let's go down. Let's play a little game here. All right. So let's start with the team that was the most successful in the recent past, the team that did go to the Super Bowl but lost it. And that was in 2022, 14-3 season. And the skill was Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Who was the third receiver on that team?
Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal.
Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal. So is this team better than that?
And that team also
went to the Super Bowl.
And they were the third-ranked offense that year in terms of points.
Okay, so
but
what say you?
I would put the skilled position players on this team above those. You didn't ask about the offensive line, but I think the offensive line was better on that team.
Yeah, but this is skill position.
Yeah, so skilled position, I think because you're running back, you're taking Saquon over Miles Sanders. Your third wide receiver, you're taking Jahan Dotson over Quez. And AJ and Devontae are going to be Devontae for sure is going to be better this season than he was that year.
Okay, let's go down to 2017.
Should we do that on the other side?
Oh, we got a break. That's correct. And we got B from Delaware on the line. And a lot of people would love to comment on their trustable Phillies here at 610-622-0975. It is the Mike Missanelli Show. We'll take a break and come back after this. Number never changes. You hit us up on the text board as well at that number. We got some YouTube chat for the people that are watching us on YouTube. We appreciate it. Commenting and getting into the show with all the arguments that I've won today over Bill. It's an amazing record since I've been on for 3 weeks. It's been a dominant performance. You know, our buddy Ray Dunn's not going to be with us tomorrow producing the show. He's going to a wedding in Kansas City.
Yes, he is.
Now, this is a wedding where I think Ray has tapped the mother load.
I'm right there with you.
Ray is 24 years old. His buddy is 24. You asked him during the break, any single girls going to be there? Well, how could single girls not be there?
And Ray is single and ready to mingle.
Ray is walking into a field of tulips right now.
You're a lucky man, Ray. A very lucky man.
So Ray, listen, he's a very successful younger fella. Yeah, he's on a big-time radio show in a major market. I mean, that's a great icebreaker. Oh, really? Oh, how long have you been in that? And then he gets the conversation going, and voila. But Ray, there's one thing you got to do.
Okay.
I've noticed you. I've only known you for a few weeks now. You got to trim that leg hair, bro.
That's not happening.
No, listen, he's an overly mature 24-year-old. He's got a heavier beard than I would ever have.
Yeah.
Right? He's got the nice beard going. He's got like a ginger thing going.
Well, the good thing is
the leg hair is unsightly.
You're
for a man of his age.
But he's going long pants at the wedding, right?
Oh, yeah, long pants at the wedding.
I'm not. But hold on, those long pants are not going to turn into long pants. They're like casual. Hey, let's go out for coffee. The next day, boom, he's got to have the shorts on. And she goes, "What do you got a wheat field that you're going to grow in there?"
Yeah, I'm sorry. There is no chance I am shaving the leg hair. The leg hair is...
No, to shave it, you trim it.
I'm not trimming that either.
You put a guard on it, you trim it.
Nah.
I know a lot of people. Well, you trim your leg hair? You're damn right.
No way.
I've never had
Not
this
a
issue.
chance.
Being 100% Italian, you would think I'd be hairier than I am.
I'm not the hairiest Italian either. But the leg hair, I don't know. I think a female thinks leg hair is unsightly.
Well, now they're going to be looking for it if they're listening to the show.
Be walking down the street, people look.
I don't think there's any young Kansas City girls who are going to be listening to the program at this point, right?
Well, wait, are these Kansas City people or are they relocated there? There's going to be a lot of local people there too, right?
So, yeah, she is originally from Kansas City. He is originally from this area.
All right, so a lot of the bridesmaids and the friends will be Kansas City folk.
That would be the case, yes. Okay. So, yeah, we can assume they're not within our listening demographic.
All right, that's good.
That's a good test. You go to Arthur Bryant's rib joint in Kansas City. The girl you meet the night before, you go, hey, you're gonna go out for lunch tomorrow and have some ribs, and then see how she eats the rib. Very, very, very indicative.
We'll be sure.
It's very indicative of her character.
Yeah. Whatever you do, Ray, just don't go in a Range Rover near the Schuylkill.
Yeah, I'll be clear not to do that.
I gotta get something off my chest here. It's this Caleb Williams story, and we'll get back to the Eagles. All-time teams.
Wait, how do we say this on the air? Are we allowed to talk about what you're going to talk about on the air here?
It's part of the anatomy.
Yeah,
it's perfectly fine to talk about.
All right. I think it is the heart. I don't think
you got to be kidding.
You're so naive.
No, but
all right, here let's get
Michael set it
out
up.
there.
Yeah, Michael set it up.
Caleb Williams apparently bought what he's calling a heart pendant to all of his Bears offensive linemen. It's a pendant that's littered with a lot of diamonds and sparkly, $50K each. It's not a heart; it's testicles. It's a testicle mold. Is what it is.
I'm with you. It looks like testicles. It even has like the veins in it. It looks like that,
and the folds on the backside.
But you think this was intentional? I think it was a mistake.
Totally intentional. He thinks this is a hip thing to do to give his offensive lineman. This is what I think of you guys. I think you guys have balls.
But
this is what he gave him.
Mike, what offensive lineman wants to wear testicles around their neck?
Nobody wants to wear it. That's why he gave it to him.
See, I think he got ripped off, Ray. I think they tried to make it look like
I think
hearts.
he got duped.
Yeah.
I think he got duped.
No, he didn't get duped. This is such a. I students are like, this is a cool. He thought that was a cool thing to do to make sure he knows his offensive linemen know that I think you guys have balls.
So you wear them around your neck?
And he gives them this.
No.
He gives them whether they wear it on their neck or not. It's the gift that counts. It's the message of the gift. This is the same mold that you have seen on some guy's pickup truck. Off the
Major difference. Hanging off the back of a pickup truck is not hanging around your neck. Ray, come on now.
No,
it's a
but
major
the
difference.
mindset is the same. Why do people that had the pickup truck hang it off the what do you call it? The hitch. They hang it off the hitch.
Yeah.
And that's a statement that they want to make to the world. That I'm a tough guy. I have balls.
I thought that was more of like my truck has
My truck.
balls.
Whatever it is.
What?
It's still a macho thing.
Truck.
My
No.
truck. It's a macho. It's an example
While
of
I'm
a
agreeing
macho
with you, would
display.
you not do this?
Now, let me ask you this question, because this is reprehensible to me. We got to have some decorum. People think, oh, you're Mike, you're a liberal. This is a very conservative view. I don't think this thing should be seen in public. If this was a female anatomy pendant, would it be allowed in public? No.
It's supposed to be a heart.
It's not a heart.
It just doesn't look
Chris
like a
Long,
heart.
former Eagle defensive lineman, tweeted with the picture, retweeted the picture of this. Sir, those are testicles.
That's what they look like.
Hey, that's
but I
what
don't
it
think he
is.
did it on purpose. I don't think
Of course
Caleb
he did it
Williams.
on purpose. You think Caleb Williams is that naive?
There's no way he went into a jewelry store and said, I got this great idea. I want to give all of my offensive linemen testicles to wear around their neck.
Caleb Williams is kind of a eccentric guy. Have you ever heard his interviews?
Very eccentric.
Okay,
yeah.
so he's going, oh, this will be cool. I can veil it by saying it's a heart, but really the message to my offensive lineman is, you guys, I appreciate you. You guys have balls.
What do you think the offensive linemen did when they opened it up? They
Laughed.
Thanks.
They laughed.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
they
thanks.
laughed. They got it. They're macho meatheads anyway.
Any of them wearing it?
No. This is.
It's not to be worn. It's a symbol. Come on, Bill. You can't be that naive.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that he intentionally did that.
my
I think
God.
he thought he was getting them a
Bill,
heart.
you're the most naive guy for a great
Ray's
man.
with me on
I'll be
this.
just as naive as him.
You're naive. You think that Caleb Williams actually thought that was a heart?
No.
Oh.
I think he went trying to get the heart, and he was given this and has repackaged it now. As, that's just what the heart looks like.
He was
Yeah.
given this. If he went to get a heart, they would have made a heart.
Yes,
What are you talking about? That's not a heart.
It's not a heart.
The jeweler made a bag.
Yeah.
Now, did you see, speaking of the Chicago Bears, because Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears, did you see they asked one of the rookies to go get toilet paper and wet wipes?
No.
And he came back with Clorox wipes. You didn't see this?
No.
It was on Hard Knocks.
All right. I can't believe that people are so naive in this town. In my own booth about what Caleb Williams' message was. 610-632-0975 back after this. 610-622-0975. So we just put out a list of Phillies we trust the most right now, in order now. We had a rollicking discussion early about this Taiwan Walker thing, where Bill actually is criticizing Dave Dombrowski right now for this whole thing.
No, I'm not blaming him for this whole thing. What I'm saying is, well, yeah, I do blame him for the Walker mess.
You blame him. He has not done a good enough job because the Phillies are not a lock now to play in the World Series, is basically what you said.
Well, look, it's never a lock. We know that. But what I'm saying is if you look at what Dave Dombrowski did this offseason and what he did before the trade deadline, I don't think he did enough to give your team the best chance of winning the World Series. I still think he's a good general manager. I'm not saying he's not. Obviously, he is. He's won everywhere he's been. But all he did this offseason was sign Whit Merrifield. Didn't work. Yes, that's hindsight. I liked the move when he made it, but it didn't work. It became clear it wasn't going to work. That's why they DFA'd him. But then when it became clear that you had some issues with your starting rotation, didn't do anything. You had some issues with your outfield. You didn't have an everyday left fielder. You didn't have an everyday center fielder. The only move he made was Austin Hayes. I just think that Dave Dombrowski could have done more to give this team the best possible chance to win the World Series. And I'm not saying they won't. They still have a chance. They would have had a better chance if he did more.
Okay. And again, I think there are circumstances that prevent him from doing more that you're not putting into the equation. But that's okay. That's our pal Tim McManus had something really interesting to say. And I don't know that we can even disagree with it. And that's why I'm doing this little exercise to just go down the years worth of Eagle offensive skill players to see if this is really accurate or not. Here's Tim McManus said about this current Eagles offensive skill unit.
I would say that this current skill position group is probably the best ever assembled in Philadelphia's history. When you consider Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and now they added Jahan Dotson to go with Dallas Goedert. I mean, that's as good as it's ever gotten here. There's certainly an outcome where they could be a top three offense, assuming that the front holds up. And, obviously the quarterback being a big part of that, and can he get back to that near MVP form? But I think there's a lot to be excited about. It's like a comet having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in their prime at the same time on the same team. And I think that Smith's going to take another jump this year, and I think they have a chance to be absolutely the best wide receiver core in the NFL.
Okay. I think that most people off the cuff would agree, but let's just verify it. We went over 2022. Hurts, Sanders, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, was Quez, Dallas Goedert. So let's now go to the year of success in 2017. Carson Wentz, and then Nick Foles. LeGarrette Blount, Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, Zach Ertz. How you feel about that unit?
This one's better. You could also include in that year Corey Clement, Jay Ajayi, Darren Sproles before he got hurt. But I do think when you look at it, this offensive from a skills perspective is definitely better.
All right, let's go to 2012, which was Andy Reid's last year of 4-12.
It's wild. If you look at these skilled players, Mike, it's wild they went 4-12.
Vic, Shady, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, Selleck.
And your wide receiver 3 was Jason Avant. I think Riley Cooper was on that team, too.
Yeah, I was just going to go to 2013 because that last year, Andy Reid, 4-12 with that skill crew. And then Chip, who came in, and we were all ecstatic about his new offense, right? He goes with Foles, Shady, Avant, Riley Cooper, Deshaun Jackson, Selleck. Not much different. And then he goes 10-6 again with Foles, McCoy, Riley Cooper, Jeremy Maclin, Jordan Matthews, and Selleck.
Yeah, this skilled group is definitely better.
All right, let's now get into the McNabb era.
I think 04 has got to be the best offense.
I'm going to click down.
Okay.
All right, no, let's click up. So we'll go with 04 first.
Because that's the year you had T.O.
McNabb, Westbrook, Freddie Mitchell, T.O., Pinkston, Chad Lewis.
This team is better because of, even if you said T.O. and A.J. Brown are a wash, Devontae Smith is leaps and bounds better than anything else you had between Pinkston, Mitchell, Greg Lewis. But then you had Brian Westbrook or Saquon Barkley. Man, I do love me some B. West.
And you had, let's face it, as much as you hate number 5, he was the best quarterback in Eagle history.
Number 5 will always love
And he'll do that too. He'll love you as well as being the best quarterback in Eagle history.
I think Donovan McNabb doesn't get enough respect in this town. I do think he was a very good quarterback. As of right now, he still is the best quarterback in franchise history, but I do firmly believe that Jalen Hurts will finish his career as the best quarterback in Eagles franchise history. So
keep the main thing.
That's damn right. So I'm going to go with this year's skilled players better than
I'm looking at these. All right, 2002, McNabb, Staley, Cecil Martin, when the fullback was still in vogue. Pinkston, Thrash, Chad Lewis. Stinkston and Trash. And then 2001, 11-5. McNabb, Staley, Cecil Martin, Pinkston, Thrash, Lewis. And then 2000, 11-5. Darnell Autry and Cecil Martin, Charles Johnson and Torrance Small, Chad Lewis. And they went 11-5. That must have been because of 5 Will Always Love You.
It definitely was. McNabb only had great wide receivers, and really you could just say one great wide receiver, 04 with T.O., and then he caught the early D-Jax, right? Was D-Jax here? How many years was Deshaun Jackson with Donovan? Was it just his rookie season?
No, it had to be more than that because you had, 8 and 9? Maybe 2 seasons with him? Because D-Jax ended up spanning pretty much every quarterback that played with the Eagles from 08 to when he came back here that second time around and wasn't effective.
Yeah, 08 you had D-Jax and McNabb together. 09 you still had McNabb and D-Jax. Was it 2010 that Donovan was gone? Yeah, 2010. So it was 2 years you had Deshaun and. But what McNabb did with really no wide receivers is pretty impressive.
Let's go back to 97. This is an interesting exercise for me to do because these names pop out at you and you go, really? You can't even remember. Now, I remember this because I did a show with Ricky Waters, which none of you guys will remember. It was
For what?
It was called Monday Night Live with Ricky Waters. We were live at the 8th Floor nightclub on Delaware Avenue.
Is that still there?
Which was the hottest nightclub going. You had to take an elevator up to the 8th floor, big nightclub. No, it's no longer there. So that's where we did the live show. Ricky would always show up 30 seconds before we were on the air. So if you remember, in 96, he had, first of all, the skill players were this. Ty Detmer, who Ricky would call Opie Cunningham. He would mix up the names. Ricky Waters, Kevin Turner was the fullback, Irv Fryer, Chris T. Jones, and Jason Dunn. Not bad skill players.
Not terrible.
No. So Ricky, of course, everybody remembers for who, for what. But the bigger story that year was that he didn't like the way John Gruden, who was the offense coordinator at the time, was running the West Coast offense and not giving him the football. So during one game on the sidelines, Gruden would be up in the booth. In one game on the sidelines, Ricky went nuts and started pointing upstairs, yelling at John Gruden, pointing his finger, right? Like on the side, you could see it visibly. Well, that became the major story. Ricky, by that time, was not talking to the press. So any press people that wanted to get him on the record for anything had to come to the live TV show. So I go, this is going to be one of the great shows of all time. So I get there. The producer says to me, Ricky wants to talk to you. And I go, Ricky? He goes, yeah. I go, he's here? He says, yeah, he's in the bathroom. So I go in the bathroom. He's in front of the urinal. So I go in front of my own urinal. We're having a conversation at the urinal. And he says, this was when I was still in the air, obviously, doing the radio show. And he says to me, hey, man, were they talking about me on the radio today? And I go, Yeah, I think it's safe to say that they were talking about you on the radio. So he turns and he goes, yeah. Well, how come they ain't talking and yelling about the MF offensive coordinator who can't call an MF game, right? And I go, that'll be my first question to you.
Did he come out of the bathroom and go on air?
Yeah, we did the show, and the whole show was about his dissatisfaction with John Gruden. It was Magic TV.
Gee, I don't remember that, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was his last year in Philly, wasn't it?
It was on a channel. This is when Prism was still in
I
existence.
remember Prism.
And so here's what happened with the TV shift in this town. There used to be a channel called Sports Channel. It was Prism and there was Sports Channel that you can see sports on.
I don't know if I remember Sports Channel.
We were on Sports Channel. You can look it up. What happened was then Fox bought stuff and consolidated anything, and then Prism went away, and it became the regional network of Comcast.
Yeah, I only
and
remember.
Sports Channel was disbanded. And so the Ricky Waters show had a 2-year run, and that was the end.
And that was his last year, 97, wasn't it? He was gone in 98.
Yes. But Ricky Waters never missed a game?
I don't remember.
He had
that.
3 years. He did not miss a football game for any reason.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it now. He didn't miss a game in.
And he was a between the tackles runner. He used to get banged up. I had a great respect for Rick. He was nuts, but I had respect for the guy. He used to bring in a lot of Eagles, too. He brought in Ty Detmer. They brought in Irv, maybe.
Yeah, he went over 1,000 yards.
Michael Zordich did a show with us.
I remember Zordich.
Yeah.
Starting safety.
I was trying to find anything written about that week, what happened.
Yeah.
I found an old Washington Post story, Silent Waters Runs Dry. It's a story basically about what you're describing, him running out of the stadium after the game, describing him head up the runway, meeting his girlfriend, and leaving the place.
Yeah.
Following the game
his
where he
girlfriend
pointed at
ran his
Gruden.
business affairs. So she was the Yoko behind Ricky. But I remember, we're doing a show, right? I'm all strapped up, right? The intro music of the show is playing. My seat next to me for Ricky is empty. And I'm going, I got to talk my way through this somehow. So I start the show with the intro, the whole bit. I hear the elevators of the 8th floor nightclub open. And here's Ricky. Here's Ricky. And he comes in, and they're literally strapping the microphone on him as I'm doing the open, but making sure the camera is not wavering to get the second
To see that he's not there?
Oh, it was classic, man.
Here's a great thing that did not age well from that story from the Washington Post. It's how it ends. Although the Eagles prepare for next week's game against Arizona, wide receiver Chris T. Jones said that Waters running with coaches would be forgotten when the team meets Monday. "We are family," said Jones, who just missed catching a potential game-winning touchdown pass with 10 seconds remaining. "We'll always have arguments. People get mad. Husband and wife are going to argue about something. But we love Ricky like a brother. He had a great ball game and was out there fighting. That's all you can ask for. He's a competitor." I don't think it was forgotten Monday, considering I think you did the show Monday. And it was a big
the disparity that people don't understand between what we do and being a fan, right? So Ricky Waters was kind of a destructive presence, like T.O. was for a little bit on that team, right? But for me, it was gold. To me, that was a golden moment where I go, this is the best. Here I am. I got this gift of Ricky Waters, even though it's detrimental to the Philadelphia Eagles.
But it made for great content.
It really did. I had a blast doing the show.
See, now I don't remember, because I only remember, like you said, the for who, for what. Ricky Waters is still number 7 in franchise history in most rushing yards in an Eagles uniform.
Yeah, he played, it's funny because he was a guy that caused some consternation, but always gave you effort. Like he was a hard-nosed player, man. Except for that who for what moment, he was still a pretty good player.
Yeah, he has the 3rd best rushing season in franchise history. 1996, he rushed for 1,411 yards in only 16 games.
I went out. He lived in the hills of San Francisco. And I went out to San Francisco to do a magazine story on him. He was, first of all, he was an adopted child. So he had this really interesting backstory. But he was also a fan of architecture. Like, he was an avid reader of Architectural Digest. So I get to this house, this beautiful house in the redwoods forest, whatever, winding up to get there. And he shows me this. He designed a poop system for his dogs. He had these two big dogs, and it was a system where the poop that the dogs would get was washed away by this sophisticated sprinkling system, which would push the poop down a canal into a sewer. It was pretty amazing.
That is pretty impressive.
It had like levels to it.
That is impressive, Ray.
Incredibly impressive.
We need something like that here at the station. I won't have to even get up from the...
He was more than met the eye, Ricky Waters.
So I just got a text, by the way, from our esteemed program director, Scott.
Yeah.
Updating us on the Hassan Reddick situation going on in New York.
So what's going on there?
So Joe Douglas, the general manager for the Jets, says the ball is in their court, talking about Reddick's team and his agent, and that they haven't spoken to him since April 1st. So the holdout continues, and the GM reiterated that he will not grant Reddick's request for a trade, and he will not discuss a revised contract until Reddick reports. So this is a mess that the Eagles avoided, Mike. Talking about poop. It's a mess.
Yeah, well, that's their problem, you know.
Thank God.
So I'm just looking up Sports Channel. It's the former group of regional sport networks in the United States. It was owned by Cablevision. And it operated from 1988 until the group's demise when it operated as a joint venture with NBC. So it was an ancestor to Fox Sport Network and Comcast Sportsnet, serving New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia. So there was Sports Channel Philadelphia.
And then Comcast Sportsnet became NBC Sports Philadelphia, right?
Correct.
Somebody in the YouTube chat said that you did one show with Peter Laviolette.
Yes.
They said you announced it, and then Laviolette got fired.
Here's just a lot. There's been a lot of interesting little ventures that I've been involved in, right? So Peter Laviolette was a hot coach. I mean, he was beloved. And
Let's play with some jam in here.
Yeah, and they loved him for that. So we got him to do the Peter Laviolette show. And it was live at Ponzio's restaurant in Cherry Hill.
That's right near my house.
Well, there you go. So we did one show. They got off to a bad start, and Ed Snyder fired him. 2 weeks into the season, we got one show in the boy. It was a great show, too, because he was glib.
Yeah. I love
He got
Laviolette.
fired. So the whole season, I'm at Ponzio's going... This should have been the Peter Laviolette show.
Wait, you had to do it by yourself?
Yes, but it's now not.
That would have been a good show. Laviolette would have been entertaining.
I liked him a lot. I got along with him.
He's still a good coach.
Yeah.
But NHL coaches, you don't last very long.
When he got zipped, I texted him and I said, listen, would you like to come on and talk about this? And he goes, one of the lessons that I've learned is to never burn a bridge.
Smart.
And so he never came on. And he wound up getting a hockey job somewhere.
He probably wasn't going to have anything kind to say about the Flyers organization.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted him.
Yeah.
Because he had just got fired. I'm thinking there might be some gold here.
Wow, great story there.
So, I mean, this is crazy because I remember it being quick. I didn't remember it being this quick. 0-3, and they fired him.
Yeah, they fired him after 3 games. It was unbelievable.
Like, why even bring the guy back?
I have no. That's the way Ed Snyder would operate that way with a red ass. You know, he demand like the goalie situation. I demand you sign a free agent. This side was Galloff and wasted money.
That was a terrible.
610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. Colarulo and Ray Dunn. I want to start this 1 o'clock hour with something we talked about with the Phillies and how Bill has shown tremendous disrespect for Dave Dombrowski. But first, I got to discuss this with Ray. Ray, I have to discuss whether this is a violation. So Bill and I, when we get to the last commercial, we leave at the same time and head to the bathroom. Now, I get in first. I go to, there are 2 urinals there, and there is an open stall. I go to the 1 urinal on the far right. Bill comes next to me at the urinal on the left. Is it a violation?
Hold on. That's not the full story.
What?
There was a person behind me walking into the bathroom at the same time, because normally I would have gone into the stall. But if that person behind me had to drop a deuce and I took the stall.
So crude.
Is that too crude for the air?
It's totally too crude.
Well, what I'm saying is I didn't want to take up the stall if this poor gentleman behind me had to use the bathroom. So that's why I came next to you.
Hold it. You made that decision. See, this is like one of those things where you just make the decision without regard to what the second guy's going to do. Like, here's the order. I walk in first, go to the urinal. You walk in second, go to the other urinal. You're worried about whether that guy had to do a number 2 in the stall?
Yeah, and then it's like, wow, thanks a lot, buddy.
Ray, you have to evaluate this particular situation. It was Bill's initial instinct to go next to me at the urinal, a violation.
In most circumstances, it would be an absolute violation. Now, with the thought process of the guy walking behind Bill.
First of all, I didn't see a guy walking in behind him. So
no, there definitely was.
Okay,
I held the door for him.
Okay.
Well, see, now you're getting too considerate here. You get one of the 2.
Why didn't you just ask him? If you're going to be considerate enough to hold the door, are you, what are you doing here?
Okay, but then I take it, and now a guy you don't know comes up to you next to you in the urinal. I figured you would rather go next to me.
Once again, too considerate here. Your thought process here.
In what world would you think would be more comfortable just because it was you?
Because
that's more of a violation.
I'm not going to sneak a peek. You know?
I'm going to say you had me working towards your side here. You had a couple of steps.
First of all, it's privacy in that bathroom. You can't sneak a peek.
No, you cannot.
There's a wall between the urinals.
No.
Which also makes it more acceptable to come up next to you. There is a half wall.
Semi-acceptable. See, I'm making the decision without regard to what the guy behind me is going to do.
Yeah, you're too considerate now.
You're too selfish of a person.
No,
I'm a sensitive, understanding person that cares about more than just myself.
Everywhere else in the world, consideration is a great thing. When it comes to the restroom,
all right,
it's all about yourself.
YouTube chat's blowing up on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Bill is a man of the people. It's very considerate of Bill. Well done. All violations waived. Bill is a sensible young man. Mike didn't consider the totality of the circumstances.
Well, I didn't see the guy coming in behind me, but had I even known, it's my decision that counts. It's not his. I'm in there. I got to make a decision. I got to worry about what the other guy's decision is. My decision would be if Bill had gotten to the urinal first and I'm not going to go next to him, I'm going to go into the stall. And then let that other guy, if he has to go into a stall, he'll have to wait. Sorry.
So Brandon on YouTube said, did Mike really just say that Bill should have asked the guy what he was going to do?
No.
That would have been more of a violation.
Bill was more considerate to the guy than I thought was necessary. At that point, you don't think about what his mindset is going into the bathroom.
I'm going to take this one step further.
It's every man for himself.
But I'm going to take it one step further. So I come next to him in the urinal, but I'm minding my own business. I'm not talking, and then Mike starts a conversation with me while we're at the urinals.
But it was related. It was work related.
Sorry.
See?
Now the violation swings back on your side.
Now who's the violator?
No, it was work related. You know what it was. I knew it was Bill there. I waited 30 seconds before I said a word. I said, well, I might as well say something.
So you created the uncomfortable situation. You only made it worse.
He did. Yeah. Did I make it worse?
Yeah. Easily.
All right. 610
small talk at the urinal.
632-0975. Let's talk about this. Bill stunned me this morning. I came in, and he starts ranting about Dombrowski. Right? You heard this.
I did.
This was not any kind of a manufactured argument. You were legitimately concerned, based on the Taiwan and Walker thing. You somehow tied that in to Dombrowski not doing a good enough job. So I just want you to explain to the people what your point was with that.
All right. Let me get my notes here because I got a lot of them on
You
this.
got notes.
I got a lot of them on this.
All right.
I am acknowledging that Dave Dombrowski is a very good general manager. Clearly, he's won everywhere he's gone, been to the World Series with 4 different franchises. So I'm not taking a shot at him as a general manager. What I'm saying is, since he's come here, there has been a lot of success, but you get one game away from the NLCS last year. One game. You don't make any changes in the offseason. The only move you made was to bring in Whit Merrifield. That didn't work. Yes, hindsight being 2020, but once it became clear that Whit Merrifield wasn't the answer, once it became clear that you lacked a right-handed bat in the outfield, that you had issues in left, you had issues in center, then it became clear Taijuan Walker was not the answer. He didn't do enough at the trade deadline to upgrade this baseball team.
Did he acknowledge that Whit Merrifield was a failure and upgrade that?
And what did they do to replace him?
He got Austin Hayes.
Which I don't think is enough. I don't think Austin Hayes is the answer.
It's not like they didn't act, though. They realized it was a mistake, and they cut cord with Whit Merrifield, and they went out what they thought was a better player. And he is a better player. He's a natural outfielder who has had success as a hitter in this league. What do you have? What was the problem with that?
I think there were better options available than
and
bringing
you thought
in
the better
Austin
options
Hayes.
were Lewis Robert Jr. from the White Sox or Randy Arozarena.
Correct.
Which would have cost you a lot more than Austin Hayes did.
Did Randy Arozarena cost a lot more? I don't think it did.
Well, prospect-wise, you actually gave up some to get Arozarena. They did not give up a single prospect to get Hayes. They gave up Dominguez, who clearly needed to change their scenery, and
They didn't give up. Yeah,
Pache.
I mean you got to look at that as maybe a win for a general manager. He doesn't have to give up a prospect to get a left fielder who's about the same as Arozarena. Arozarena isn't that. You can't make the case that he's better.
What I am looking at this team as, and you agreed with this, Ray, I think you agree with this as well. It's World Series or bust. Anything less than them hoisting John Middleton's damn trophy is a disappointment, correct? We all agree on that.
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, so if that is the goal, and that is the only goal, then you do everything in your power to make this the best possible baseball team at the trade deadline, and I don't think he did.
Okay. Again, this is a real-time job. So at the time they made these moves for the Merrifield, for the Taijuan Walker, they had good reason to make the moves. Once it doesn't pan out, then you change it up. Now, Walker, they owe a lot of money to. So that fits into the equation, right? With Merrifield, they said, we got to bite the bullet. It's not working. So they make the move, and they get Austin Hayes, and there goes Whit Merrifield. Walker, they were trying desperately to see if they could salvage a situation that they may have thought was unsalvageable. So I don't blame them for giving them one last chance. Now they've got to figure out something. Now the craftiness of Dave Dombrowski has to come into play because they cannot send him out again as a Philly pitcher.
And you made that decision based off of yesterday. Half the damn city made that decision months ago.
Okay, so we're talking about they lost one game that they probably would have lost anyway if they would have pitched Tyler Phillips. You're assuming that things would have been better had they not sent Walker out there last night.
Maybe it would have been better yesterday and in the other 9 starts that they've lost in a row of Taijuan Walker.
You were going to cut him after that early in the season? He was hurt. He was rehabbing. They thought they had him okay. He's not. He's not. Now they know definitely that he's not. So it happens in a baseball season. So now you got to figure out what you're going to do from here. But at the time, in real time, you're still thinking that you're going to be okay.
And also,
because he's been a 10-year veteran who can eat innings for you.
Look at what they've had to deal with inside of the rotation with Ranger being down for a little bit there, being hurt. And Taijuan himself, when they brought up replacements, Phillips gave you a nice run when he started up here, and then you saw him hit a wall. Colby Allard, I'm waiting for the blow-up start. I've been shocked by the fact that it's been winnable games every time he pitches.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like there's a just one-size-fits-all starter here.
If you want to blame him, this farm system isn't deep enough to give you any options. Like, I'm watching this kid yesterday, Eric Getty pitch. I'm going, Houston has a rookie pitcher able to help them. The Phillies do not. So if you're going to blame the general manager, blame him for that. They don't have a guy. The pitchers that they have selected have gone ziggy on him. One had Tommy John surgery. The other can't get anybody out. The two guys they drafted.
Well, all right, let's go to the outfield then, Mike. You don't trust Nick Castellanos, correct?
I can't not trust him now. He worries me that he's going to hit another slump, but that's the least of my worries.
All right, well, that was
right now, Castellanos.
That was a Dombrowski signing. What about center field? Do you feel comfortable about your center fielder? No, you don't. Brandon Marsh, that was a Dombrowski signing. What about left field? Do you really feel comfortable with Austin Hayes in left field? Because that was the move that was made at the trade deadline.
They acquired Brandon Marsh for a catcher who was never going to play here. Like, how is that a bad move?
And won a pennant, by the way. That trade deadline move.
And he had some moments in the playoffs.
So I'm okay with Brandon Marsh. Mm-hmm. What I'm not okay with, though, is that it was clear at the deadline that your outfield wasn't good enough. And the only move that was made was Austin Hayes.
You think Willie Mays was available? This is what I don't get about you. If there's a productive player, they're not going to trade him unless you give up primo prospects. So
give them up.
You get
what are we holding on the prospects for?
What's available? And it was a very short list of players that could help you were available.
Listen. Give up whatever damn prospects you need.
Yeah, give me Hank Aaron.
To go out and upgrade.
I'll give you, come on, man.
What's the text board saying on this?
The pickings are slim
I need some
when you're
support.
trying to acquire a meaningful player at a trade deadline. Great players are not going to be available unless it's a bad team and you're willing to give up prospects.
They should have given up prospects.
For who?
That's not my job.
But also on the other side,
Dombrowski's job is to go out there and figure out how to upgrade this baseball team, and he didn't do it at the deadline. He did not upgrade this team at the deadline.
Substantially to your cause, because he did upgrade this team.
Okay, got Estevez, like that move, and he gets Austin Hayes. I'm still not Look, maybe Austin Hayes turns into being a stud in the postseason. Right now, I got no faith in him.
Right now, watching Tanner Banks versus watching the end of Soto. That's another Dombrowski move at the deadline.
I don't know about Tanner Banks.
Soto at the end, though?
I don't. Well, see, I don't know what happened with Soto. I really don't. I don't think there's any way a guy.
I think Soto thought he was more than what he was.
Throws 99 miles an hour, can't be successful. I just don't get it.
But you can also fault Dombrowski because Mike's saying now they got a DFA Walker. If they would have made this decision when they should have made this decision, they never should have come back from the IL. He's gone 0-4 since he came back from the IL with a 9.17 ERA. They should have made that move then instead of the fake blister. You knew the guy didn't have it.
How are you covering those innings? You have to get a certain number of outs to get through 162 baseball games.
That's on Dombrowski. That's what I'm saying.
You can't have it both ways.
Okay.
You want it both ways.
I would feel better with Tyler Phillips or Colby Allard, but I would have rather have seen him do something to replace
Walker.
Walker.
Could you sit here and say that you would be better off with Tyler Phillips and Colby Allard?
Over Taijuan Walker? It's a no-brainer, Mike.
You don't have any idea that those guys are going to produce for you.
Phillips has given you better...
Hold on to that thought there, Hoss.
All right,
hold on.
I'm holding.
Cool down. Blake Missanelli Show continues. 610-622-0975. We got a lot of tweets. News today, James Barry buried IR. 6 to 8 weeks. What kind of tweets we having out there, right? What are the people saying about Bill's ridiculous blaming of Dave Dombrowski?
Bill's been searching for some help, so I will throw him a lifeline here.
People are helping him?
Anthony in St. Pete. Totally agree with Bill. Should have gotten a serviceable starter at the deadline with an under 4 ERA, even if it meant giving up a prospect. If one of the remaining 4 starters goes down, they are screwed. Walker was in to set up the rotation for the Atlanta series and pray that he had a resurgence for a game or two. Let's not even talk about the offense yesterday. It almost seemed like they wanted to throw dirt on Walker's metaphorical grave. As a side note, Schwarber getting a pass again. His average has come down 14 points in the last 6 games and has 20 less homers than last year with 29 games left. Anthony in St. Pete.
Anthony, I would ask you this question. What team is giving up a pitcher that has a sub-4 ERA? I mean, seriously, unless you're an older... You know who you get for that? And it's a miracle that he would have an ERA under 4. You would get the Kyle Gibsons of the world. That's the kind of pitcher you would get. You think anybody is giving up a pitch as dearth as the pitching situation is in Major League Baseball? A team's going to go, you know what? Here you go. You can have one of our better pitchers whose ERA is 3.5. Where in what earth are you thinking you're going to get a guy like that?
You needed someone that's not a scheduled loss.
That's who you would get.
He would give you a better chance than Taijuan Walker.
David Buchanan. They had him in the system.
Better chance than Walker.
Really? They just traded him again.
Cash considerations.
Oh, man, you're talking about garbage, man, here. Stop it. There's nobody that would have been available that would have... You got a guy under contract for this kind of money. You side on that side. Hope like he is going to be just as good as anybody I can get. That's what you're crossing your fingers and hope. Now, as it turns out, he's not. It's over. They exhausted all possibilities of it. Yeah, so now they learn.
When you say they're crossing their fingers and hoping that the guy under contract can give them some innings in Taijuan Walker.
Because it's based on salary as well.
But what did you see this year to lead you to believe that he was going to be serviceable?
Forgetting about the business part of this. You have to understand that part of it. You just can't give up $30-some million. The owner is trusting you, right?
They're going to do it now.
Hey, guess what? Hey, John, we're not going to have him anymore, but I just want you to throw out $38 million for this Taijuan Walker mistake that I made. You can't do that as a GM.
You're going to do it now, though. Right?
I got to do it now.
Okay.
Because you've exhausted all possibilities. What I'm saying is you had to exhaust all possibilities. Last night was the exhausted possibility.
You needed to see yesterday to know that Walker was done.
Yes.
I didn't.
Because you had no other choice. You can't go back to the trading deadline now. You thought you were going to be okay with Taijuan Walker. As it turned out, you weren't. But you didn't learn that until the middle of August.
You didn't learn it till the middle of August.
Stop it.
Half of Philadelphia learned it 3 months ago.
You know that from a business standpoint, they had to see if they could salvage this guy because of the money reasons and because he's a veteran pitcher.
Ray, do we have anyone else on the text board supporting me on this?
Yeah, Andy and Lambertville. I'm with Bill. World Series or bust. Why the heck is Mike worried about prospects?
See, that's a knee-jerk reaction. You don't give up good prospect for a mediocre player. You give up good prospects for a player who can really help you. Not the Kyle Gibsons of the world. That's a prudent general manager does not do that.
But we don't know who potentially could have been available. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Kyle Gibsons would have been available. That's the pitchers that are available. You've been around. Listen, you're not just a kid off the street. You've been around to know that premier pitchers aren't going to be available.
It does make it difficult with the new wild card that a lot of teams were still in it.
There you
give you that. I give you that.
Well, there's a factor. Lou in Burlington. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Lou.
What's up, Mike Missanelli?
What's going on, Lou? How you doing?
So listen, I got to start out by saying I'm glad you're back, number one. Number two, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time.
Thank you.
But you could not be more wrong about this situation. Right? You could not be more wrong.
Okay, all right.
I'm an older guy like you.
You're an older guy reacting from a lounge chair.
I'm an older guy.
You're not reacting from a general manager's chair.
Listen,
all right, so go ahead. I'll let you react. Go.
All right, now go ahead. Now, if I told you, if I had a crystal ball and I said, Mike, the Phillies are not going to win every fifth game from May 22nd until now, you would say, well, you can't have that pitcher pitch that long without winning a game. 3 months without winning a Taijuan Walker start. 3 months. That is absolutely insanity. The only team in baseball that would have ever done that is Philadelphia.
Okay, give me all
Nobody would
right.
put up
Now,
with
okay,
that.
now I let you speak. Now give me your alternative. Now you tell me
My
what.
alternative
Now
would
you
be,
tell.
Mike, you could get out as many players as Taijuan Walker.
See, now you're being
He
silly.
stinks.
Now you're being silly, Lou.
Come on, Mike.
Now you're reacting as a knee-jerk Philadelphia fan from your lounge chair because you know it's not realistic to say that anybody would have been better. You can't just say it that. You have to look at it like a general manager.
Wait, Mike, you did
It's
say
a fact.
earlier in the show that you could have gotten a swing and miss yesterday.
Well, I'm talking about a swing and miss. I'm not talking about a player. There are a lot of things that go into getting a player. One is the player good enough for you to give up prospects? 2 is the money factor. Can I give up $38 million to this owner who's already gone to $300 million on his payroll? There are factors. The third one is he's coming off an injury. He was a 10-year veteran pitcher. He's got some guile.
What
He's
injury?
had some success.
Talking about the fake blister?
He's been injured all year, basically. He had leg problems or whatever he had.
And listen, you're talking about the money. John Middleton is on record talking about how this is all about winning a World Series. I think he'd be okay with eating the money.
Really? It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to say, you're going to make me waste $38 million? It's a hard conversation to have with somebody.
Is it? You think it's easier now? Hey, listen, I know I didn't make a move at the deadline.
But Middleton now knows, you know what? I know it's not salvageable. I get it. We're in a bind now. I totally get it. And yesterday was the final nail. You had to exhaust it all the way. It's August 29th. You had to almost take it out August 29th to figure this out.
See, that's where we're way in disagreement on this. Everybody knew this guy had nothing left months ago. And now you're saying you needed to see it yesterday?
So let's go back to when he came back from the injured list in August.
Yeah.
Because he's made 4 starts since he's come back from the blister.
They're 0-4.
Yeah, I understand that. They're 0 for 9 in his last 9 starts. We've covered that. We were just so eloquently told by Lou about that. I got you. Leading up to him returning from the injured list, Tyler Phillips had the blow-up and then came back and had the start against the Dodgers where it seemed like he was on shaky waters. He got through his 5 innings, gave up 4 earned. Christopher Sanchez was in the midst of a difficult month, and Colby Allard was still in this rotation. You were rolling out a rotation without Ranger Suarez that included Colby Allard and Tyler Phillips, and Sanchez was going through his struggles. Were you really comfortable with the idea that for a month and a half, you would be able to get through a season with the pitchers you had on the roster at that time?
You are making my point for me, Ray. It's why I wanted to see Dombrowski do something to add another arm to the rotation at the deadline.
That pitcher's not going to pitch in the postseason. It's not a real pitcher. It doesn't
He's right.
matter.
I agree with you.
You're getting a 5th starter who's not going to figure in the playoffs. That's another factor on why you won't give up a prospect. But as we go into a break, let me just say this, okay? They sent him out there on August 13th. He gave up 4 hits in 4 innings and 3 runs. Okay. He at least ate 4 innings. The next start against the Nationals, he went 4 2/3. He gave up 4 hits and 3 runs. At least he ate some innings. So then you send him out against the Royals. And this is where you get the tip-off. He gave up 8 hits and 6 runs. At that point, you go, he had 2 decent starts, so we got to give him another one. And then in the other one, he gave up 13 hits. That's the end. He earned another start. He had 1 bad game where he gave up 8 hits and 3 innings. The 2 starts before that were okay to eat up innings, which is all they required of him. 610-632-0975. Back after this. Mike Missanelli Show, 97.5, the Fanatic Phils and Braves tonight. Charlie Morton against Christopher Sanchez, and I've already got on a board my bet of the night, which is a plus 500 home run for Jorge Soler, who is the second favorite to hit home run tonight behind Kyle Schwarber.
It's interesting. I'm not disagreeing with you on home run picks. What is he, 3 for 3, Ray?
You going to put 20 on that?
Oh, Ray's not.
There
he is.
You going to put 20 on that?
I'm thinking about it.
What do you mean thinking?
Well, I'm still having
$20
issues.
to you sold your law practice for $7 billion.
I'm still having issues.
$20 to bet on Jorge Soler?
I'm still having issues with my account. I have this issue with my
bank account?
location. No, my location.
I was going to say, what's up?
Because you can only do it if you're in Pennsylvania, and I keep going back and forth over the bridge, and I guess my laptop gets messed up in its location.
You got to get your geolocation.
Over there.
Get your geolocation in gear.
You can't bet from Jersey.
Oh, okay, but only bet when you're here.
That's what I'm trying to do, but it has me locked out still. And I reached out to customer support. I'm waiting for a response.
All right. Ray's had to do a wedding tomorrow. We won't have Ray. This is the first time since I've been back. We won't have Ray as a buffer. So Ray going to Kansas City. Ray says that he is in the wedding era of his life.
He is.
Well, see, this is where I disagree. Because if I'm commissioner of the world, it would be prohibited to get married until you're 30.
So he would have
now,
6
Ray,
years.
Are you suggesting to me that your friends will be going down like bowling pins from this point on, being only 24 years old?
That was what was suggested to me. I was told once you get the first invitation, they never stop coming.
Really?
That was what was laid out there for me.
There is some truth in that. You're going to go to a ton of weddings.
Right.
Are you in this wedding or no?
No, I'm not in it.
I got to be honest with you. If you're 24, why would you get married? Yeah, isn't that too young?
Preacher
You
choir,
don't even know anything about life yet. You got to know about life. To have a lasting relationship, and I should be one to talk about lasting relationships.
I'm with
but to have lasting relationships, you got to kind of get to know the person and get mature in your own self, right? At 24, you're not really mature, are you?
I am 1,000% with you. The person you are at 24 is nowhere near the person you will be at 40.
That always leads to bad stuff because at 24, you never think that you think you're good now, but then life gets a little more interesting for you, and you get a better job, and you're feeling your oats a little bit. I don't know. Whatever. Hey, Brad, congratulations going to the wedding. And also, congratulations for not having a girlfriend at this particular time, because I think you're walking into a mother load in this. What do the bridesmaids look like, Ray?
I haven't given a ton of looking, so we will come back with a report of everything that happened.
You haven't done a scouting report?
I haven't done a scouting report. I got time.
You haven't asked your friend?
No.
You haven't asked your friend about how? You've never asked that question to him?
No.
What do your bridesmaids look like?
No, I didn't go down that path.
You're a better man than me. Would you have asked, Bill?
1,000%. Before I agreed to go to the wedding, I would make the decision, am I bringing a date or not? And it would all depend on...
I wasn't afforded that luxury where I was going to be, have a +1.
I would have asked my friend to produce baseball trading cards with their pictures on it.
I would want to know who was going to be at the wedding.
With bubble gum in it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a really interesting story, speaking of relationships. A couple engaging in amorous activity in a Range Rover. The brake must have dislodged or he knocked it into neutral. The Range Rover, as they were in the amorous activity, fell into the Schuylkill River. Do you have any more on this story? Do we have any details on this? Any deets?
They were able to get out of the car before the car went in, but they were working overnight to get that out.
You know, this is a typical scene. Like, I know, Ray, you haven't seen Risky Business, one of Tom Cruise's early movies, but a Porsche went into the lake, right off the pier.
I remember that
in Risky Business. He was trying to hold it as it was sliding down the deck.
That's a great movie. Ray, that's another one to add to your list.
Okay, sounds good.
But wait, so this was a brand new Range Rover, wasn't it? Isn't that what the story was? It was like a new vehicle?
Nice vehicle.
It's a nice car. I saw the picture of it being lifted. So
a Land Rover is at a higher grade than the Range Rover, right? The Range Rover is the lower grade.
Yeah, the Range Rover Sport, and then there's
sportier.
the Range Rover. I don't know. I used to own,
I thought a Land Rover was the more expensive car than the Range Rover.
A 2020 Range Rover is exactly what it was.
Oh, so it wasn't a new
2020 Range Rover.
I wish.
Okay, so they got out, but they watched the car go into the Schuylkill. Were they able to pull the car out, salvage
They were
it?
able to escape before it rolled into the water. They were unharmed, and then
Did they get the car back?
Wednesday morning they were able to start getting the car out.
How much is that tow job?
That's got to be brutal.
So I got a little more information. It says the Lovebirds were doing what they were doing in a 2020 Range Rover when one of their limbs bumped into the SUV's gear stick. So they did put it out of gear. I guess they put it into neutral or something.
Yes. So here's the question. I assume that they were either completely naked or scantily clothed. As the car is drifting towards going in the Schuylkill, do you first take the time to put your pants on, or do you go out naked?
I'm jumping out naked. I'm not taking the chance.
What are you going to do? You're going to pull the car from going in? Like, what are you doing? What couldn't you just put it in like the gear shift? They just shoot it into park?
Oh, I guess
to
you could,
stop
but
it?
you're saying as it's going into the water.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah,
I mean,
is like, would you take the time to put your pants? If you couldn't stop it by putting it into park, would you go out naked?
Yeah, because if you don't have
Right.
time to stop it, you don't have time to grab your clothes. Right?
I'm leaving there with something. I'm grabbing something. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm grabbing something.
You wouldn't go outside naked?
Probably not. No.
What would you be afraid of? There would be nobody around, probably.
I'd just prefer to have a little bit of clothing on. I don't think it's that crazy of a.
It might be a little crazy. Yeah, this is an immediate situation here. You can't take the time. You can't take.
I'm
any
not
more
taking time.
to
I'm
put
reaching for
You
something.
gonna put your drawers on too?
I'm reaching. I said I'm grabbing one thing.
grab
I don't
your
know what I'm
drawers?
grabbing. I don't know what I'm grabbing.
What I find my bigger question, though, is how they knew, because every media outlet is reporting that they were getting busy, that they were having some sort of sexual activity. How do they know that? Why would you admit that? When you say, hey, we were just sitting there watching the sunrise, and unfortunately the car rolled in and we jumped out and we lost our clothes in the water.
I mean, it's hard to believe.
Too much of an obvious lie to say that. That you weren't aware that the car was drifting. You must have been involved in something else.
Someone could be proud of it too.
Maybe.
Someone would be like, I mean, if you're going to turn this in, like something unfortunate happened. Oh, no.
I would have said something like, well, I was smoking crystal meth, and that's what I lost. I hit the pipe, and I accidentally hit the gear shift. But here, you can have my
that's
pipe.
somehow better
Here,
than
officer, you can.
So you think they made up that this was what was going on?
No, I don't think you make this one
Dude,
up.
it's an interesting story.
I think there's a point of pride in this one. I heard the Morning Show talking about they wanted to set an age restriction on when you could be getting busy inside a car.
Really?
Like there's
that's
probably a
interesting.
point like
I have an age
age-wise.
restriction on wearing a backwards hat. So what's the age restriction for getting amorous in a car? Backwards hat, I think 35. It's the end.
Oh, so I haven't worn a backwards hat in here yet with you. That would be a violation.
A total violation. What are you, in your 40s? You wear a backwards hat?
41.
What are you, a frat boy?
I grew up wearing backwards hats. I got to change who I am?
You're 41. Crying out loud. Wearing a backwards hat.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to wear one tomorrow, I think, right?
No. Save it for when I'm back, please.
Come on,
I want to see the dynamic.
So
on
you don't like Dan Quinn. He always rocks the backwards hat. Dan Quinn, the new head coach of the Commanders. That's his thing.
That's ridiculous. Dan Quinn wear a backwards hat. I'm telling you. You got to be a dude, first of all, to wear the backwards hat. And there's got to be an age restriction on the dudeness. And you should be out of your dudeness stage at 35.
I think I look better with the hat backwards than forward. I don't know.
No, I don't think you do. I haven't seen it, but I'm just going to throw it out
anyway,
there. I don't
back
think
to
you
the
would.
subject. How old do you have to be to stop? Why would you? I don't know. You would have to be in your 20s to still do that, wouldn't you?
Right. That was
If you get
where
out
they
of
were
your
getting to.
20s, you can't, that's like get a room time. Isn't it?
Mid-20s, I'd say. Honestly, like once you get past
Yeah,
that.
I agree. You got some money in your pocket. You got to be able to go somewhere. When you're
Right.
still living at home.
And I think it'd be more enjoyable, right? I mean, the
Well,
car.
okay, why don't you live at home? What age were you when you got out of there?
I didn't live at home during law school, so I'm trying to think how old I would have been. 23, maybe?
That's a good age. Get out of there. Start on your own. Ray?
22.
Well, look
As soon
at
as I
Ray.
was done with school.
Look at that, Ray.
I was done
Get
with
out
Temple.
of Temple and you found a spot to live, no longer with the parental units.
I'll tell you what,
I
though.
couldn't go back.
Before I moved out on my own, I did a stint at my grandmother's. That was phenomenal. I mean, I would throw a dirty shirt on the ground, and it would be folded and put away by dinner time.
Can we hear from her?
Ellie?
Yeah, can you play that into the microphone? She called again and you didn't answer again.
She did. I have to.
You want to screen it?
I got to see because she called during the show about the meatballs. We were talking about meatballs yesterday.
because you ripped your mom. A little bit.
She called and left me a 2-minute voicemail while we were on the air.
I want to hear that. I think you should play that right now.
Incorporating her recipe. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, play it into the microphone. People will still hear it.
Has this been cleared? Do we know everything? Well, did you listen to this before we're playing it?
She didn't curse.
I don't know.
She's not a cursor. Grandma Miller.
She may.
Yeah, she is?
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this over the air.
Yeah.
According to the meatballs now, my meatballs are very good, and I don't want to say that your mother didn't make them like me. She did make them like me. But, of course, mine was maybe a little softer because I like them real soft. Because if you drop the meatball on the floor with mine, it'll splatter all over the place. There's a lot of different ingredients you have to put into a meatball to make it taste good. And my ingredients are cheese, Ducatelli cheese, salt, a little bit of pepper, egg, lots of eggs. That's what makes it soft. And also very little breadcrumbs, by the way. A lot of fresh Italian parsley. A lot of Italian parsley. That gives it the flavor.
All right, so she goes.
Yeah,
she goes on and
that's
on.
pretty good.
That's
So
like a
she was
2-minute.
trying to cover up and throw a bone to her daughter.
She was. She didn't like that I said my mom's weren't as good.
Yeah, but she did say that she makes them softer than your mother. So she's suggesting some kind of flaw in the process that your mom makes the harder meatball. Now, what could it be? I'm going to give you a little secret.
All right, let me hear it.
Wet bread.
You have to wet the bread first.
Wet the bread either with milk or water. Any kind of bread, but it's got to be the soft part. Can't be the crust part of a bread.
See, here's what I think the issue is. It's not that for my mom. My mom has bigger hands than my grandmother.
Uh-huh.
So my grandmother's recipe, it doesn't include measurements.
Yeah,
She'll tell you
measure. No,
this
Italians
much.
don't measure.
Yeah, this much.
Yeah, Italians don't measure.
So that's why I
But
think
your
they're good.
grandmother goes, lots of eggs. No.
Lots of eggs.
One egg. You need one egg. It's all you need is one egg to solidify it. One egg. I'm a one-egg meatball batch guy.
Are you sitting here disagreeing with Grandma Ellie's?
Grandma
meatball
Melly
recipe?
is going too eggy.
Best thing is that you could hear the show happening in the background.
Yeah, she was still listening.
Oh, yeah.
If we were screening her, we would be like, hey, turn down your radio, please. I'm begging you.
I have another voicemail from her from the day before telling me how great she's feeling because the Phillies won.
Do you ever answer her phone calls?
No, she's going to call in and yell at me because I never do.
610-632-0975 if you want to get a hold of Bill.
That's a bigger issue, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's a massive issue.
He ignores Nana.
Is this the same grandmother you lived with?
It is. She was the best.
So in the same 5 minutes here, we talked about how you just throw dirty clothes all over the place, get them all cleaned. You know, she'd take care of you. And you can't answer the phone once?
I'd come home to a fresh meal.
She's the best, except she's not good enough to answer the damn phone.
She was in my defense, that was while we were on the air. You could hear us in the background.
Yeah, okay,
By
that's
the way,
one.
1 o'clock hour is brought to you by Ferguson, HVAC line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's count locations, Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, Westchester. Let's go to Lance in Arizona. What's up, Lance?
Hey, so a couple of things. I agree with Bill to a certain extent. My biggest problem that I had with the Phillies in the offseason was when they lost that series. You lost 4 out of the last 5 games, and you couldn't hit enough. You only averaged 3 runs a game down the last 5 games of that series. To me, I looked at it this way, and I called Ray. Ray can vouch for this. I called almost 25 times and said, they need to go get a bat. They're a bat short in their lineup. To me, like their deadline last year when they got Rodolfo Castro, that was their move for the bat, was ridiculous to begin with because they had Michael Lorenzen, but he was only a 2-month stopgap because next year
That's the kind of
Rangers
pitcher that's available, the Michael Lorenzens of the world.
Yeah, well, I'm fine if that's what you want to do, but to me, the issue was they needed to make their moves in the offseason because at the deadline now, with the extra wild card, it's harder to make that move.
I will agree with you that they needed to add a left fielder. That's where they made a terrible mistake. They needed right-handed pop for a guy who could play left field. They waited too long for that. So I'll agree with you. But otherwise, the lineup was pretty solid.
To me, yeah, to me, they were always that one bat short. Because, like, when you go back and watch, I don't know, no one's going to watch it, but, like, you go back and look at that NLCS, like, Game 3, you only scored 1 run. We can blame Kimbrel, and we should, because I hate him anyways, but the fact of the matter is, if you score 1 run, you're probably not winning that game. And
no, you're right. Again, hitting is peculiar. So when everybody stops hitting at once, it's contagious that way. I get it. The one mistake they made, and listen, this was proven for most of the season, that their outfield OPS was the worst, one amongst the worst in the league. So if you're going to start the season with Rojas, then you better make damn sure you got a left field or a right-handed bat with some pop. Now, if there's anything to blame Dombrowski, it's that.
So you are blaming Dombrowski.
I blame him for that. And if I look back at it, they're scrambling around with that left field situation. That's why I said, you know what, squeeze another year of right field out of Harper, sign the first baseman for a 1-year contract, which he probably would have taken, Rhys Hoskins, and then play Castellanos in left field. But I'm not the general manager. But I knew that they had a gap in left field.
So it took 4 hours for you to finally come to my side of the aisle.
Along that they needed somebody in left field.
And that's on Dombrowski.
Okay. All right, that is, but that's not your argument. Your argument is the trading deadline stuff. I said at the start of the year that they were inadequate in left field. And that's where he made a mistake, way back when.
But I was okay with Dombrowski going into the season, not making a bunch of changes to see what you had, see what you have in Rojas, see what you have in Marsh. And when it didn't work out, you also thought you had Merrifield's bat.
Yeah.
And when it didn't work out, that's why I think he needed to do more.
Merrifield, again, it's a utility player. Like, he's not a true left fielder. I would have gotten myself a true outfielder who could play left field. Speaking of your boy Rojas, I know you love him dearly. He loves himself a little bit, don't you think?
He does.
I mean, he makes that catch in center field, and he goes low with the thing like you can't go low enough to get for me to make a catch. And then in the dugout, he's replaying his catch over and over again. Dude, the moment's over, all right? Nice catch. Now focus on your at-bat coming up.
All right. I agree, but I'd much rather have that than the sulking from Alec Bohm. I'd much rather have a guy who's confident and loves himself in the field than a guy who's just going to sulk every time he does something. And, Mike, before the show ends, I gotta say something here because I'm getting some heat.
You're getting heat?
I got a text from my mother.
Oh, no.
Just for the record, you came home to home-cooked meals every night of the week when your mother worked. Your clothes were always washed, ironed, and you always looked nice. Give a shout-out to your mom, too. So I'm giving a shout-out to my mom.
Wow. Bill's mom, you got to work on that softness of those meatballs.
Yeah. Well, my mom did work
there's a
full
flaw.
time.
There's a flaw in the process.
There is. But she used to work full-time and made sure there was meals on the table. So thank you, Mother.
There you go. Oh, that's so cute. I love when your family checks in. We're going to make this a regular. Grandma Ellie needs to be a regular feature of the show.
So she does. And I've talked to her about this. She is a character. So we should make one day
to
of the
get her
week.
a Philly analysis, which is a lot more cerebral than yours, frankly. So we'll work on that.
We'll work on Grandma Ellie getting a part of the show.
Ray, listen, man, have a good time in Kansas City. Give us the play-by-play. Again, here's my method. You focus on the bridesmaids first. If you don't like what you see, there's going to be plenty of single girls there, friends of hers, I assume. And then, get the date lined up and take her to Arthur Bryant's. And before you do that, you're going to wear the shorts. It's going to be hot in Kansas City. Give your legs a trim. Give the leg hair a trim. And I think
you can keep advocating for it. I can assure you what's not going to happen.
Give the leg hair a trim. She'll thank you for it.
Does the leg hair travel down into the feet? You got hairy feet too?
Like not that hairy feet. No.
Okay, that's fine. I don't mind I think you got to make sure the feet aren't.
It's not overwhelming.
His leg hair is unsightly for a kid, 24 years old. Stay tuned. Who's with Tyrone and Ricky? Tyrone and Ricky coming up. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.